Welcome to another Sunday Sync, boys and girls. We had a daylight savings change, so this should be interesting to see how many people show up. I was actually caught off guard by that myself, and as of right now, we've got two people on, which is not normal. By now, we usually have like 10 or something, or at least more than that. So I guess I want to open it up. Robert and I were just talking before we started hitting recording about our markets and whatnot, and how we're seeing changes and all the geopolitical stuff going on, which we normally don't talk about politics in here. But I'd like to just go back to that, Robert, if you want, or take it to where
Yeah,
Wayne wants to go, whoever wants to talk about it.
I mean, sure. If you want to continue on that, let's go ahead, keep going.
Okay. Wayne, since it's just us three, we've got the floor. We can, BS about whatever. I mean, I can throw out some topics. Like I'm getting heavy into AI and looking into building agents for AI scraping the web and making my life easier. I do velocity banking. I don't know what Robert's in the southern New Hampshire. I'm in Arizona. So I guess maybe Wayne, what market are you in? I see it came off mute, but I'm not hearing anything on my end. Okay. Well, just chime in if I'm not hearing you, Wayne. Robert, are you hearing Wayne?
I'm not hearing him either.
Oh, okay. Well, Wayne, go ahead and interrupt if you oh, what's he saying? I'm fussing with the mic, not working. Okay, got it. Um, but yeah, Robert, I think I really this is such a tumultuous, is that the right word? Time and
Yeah.
history for everything, man. Politics, finance, real estate, especially. I mean, man,
Mhm.
talk about a roller coaster ride. So I know it's crazy and I know it's a tough time to invest, but I actually like it. It's not boring.
Um, well, I like it is in the fact that, a week ago I closed on the deal and now I feel like I made out like a bandit
Congrats, man.
because so this was a deal in a more rural area of New Hampshire. So the exact town no one's going to know, but it's called Allenstown, New Hampshire. So
Oh,
basically,
I've heard of it actually, believe it or not. I think Intel
you're
had something going on with that.
really in Allenstown. I think
You
I
know what?
think that
Maybe
was
it was
more.
that might have been Pennsylvania. I might be off on
Yeah,
states.
no,
So,
that's probably off ones. I'm like,
yeah.
um, I'm like, most of that place is like a huge, massive state park. There's like very little development there, but basically it's between Manchester, which is the largest city in New Hampshire of like 120,000 people, and the capital city of Concord, which is about 35,000 people. So in between new two metros from Boston, you're looking at like an hour and 5 minute drive from Boston. So everything in southern New Hampshire is within the Boston vicinity. So there's always that potential to grab, a tech worker who only needs to go into the office 2 days anywhere in the southern part of the state. But yeah, so I bought this deal for $400,000 with seller financing at 5.75% for it's amortized over 30 years, but there's an 8 year payback period on that loan. And what I like so much about this building is if I can convince the zoning board to do so, I could have a huge equity add to this building. So as it currently stands, there's two units. There's two bedrooms and two bathrooms on each floor. However, there's a third floor with, I guess that's finished. That's not an actual unit. There's currently standing there like five, let's call them rooms and a fully functioning bathroom. So the plan is right now to see if that upstairs space, best case scenario, I can get a two studios out of it because there's enough square footage to go up there. If not, at least a triplex. And worst case scenario, if they don't want me to change it from a duplex, then now the second floor unit of a two bed, two bath, I guess, is becoming like a 5 bed, three bath. Plus, another good thing is that the downstairs unit with two beds and two baths also had like two common areas. So I don't want to do this just yet because I do want my two studios and not to ruffle feathers with the town too much. But
Yeah.
eventually, I want to look into making the downstairs from a two bed, two bath to a two bed, three bath. And so, yeah, awesome win for me, especially considering that two similar units came on the market recently. Well, not similar for like the bonus space in the attic, but uh, another duplex, slightly better location, two beds, two baths came on for 425, and another one again, two beds, two baths, slightly better location came on for 35. So considering I got it for 400 plus all the extra bonus rooms I can do something with, plus the 5.75 seller financing, I feel like I crushed
Nice.
it a bit
That's awesome, man.
on that one. So yeah, hopefully, I can, do something with adding units, adding bedrooms or something just to like make it extremely sweet.
Cool, man. Congrats. I see Jim joined. Hey, Jim. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going.
Congratulations.
Yeah, man. I'm super stoked. I'm hoping that third time's it. Robert got his. We were just talking about the deals. He's got hit. Yours is done though, Robert, right? You closed on it?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm closed and I'm ready to go and start talking with the zoning board to let me have those extra units.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm waiting on feedback or I've requested extra money down or money back because of the inspections. So I'm
Oh,
waiting to hear
really?
back from them. Yeah.
Oh man, so it's funny. I had a total I wasn't going to bring this up, but I had a total side conversation with Matt, the lumberjack, and I was really surprised by his answer. I had got my house locked up. I told the story, but I'll tell it real quick. It was listed at 630 last year. Was up there forever. I think they dropped it to like 625 or whatever, and then it dropped off the market. In January, it came back on at 599, and then it dropped to 575, and then like the asshole I am, I offered 550 with 18K concessions. So they countered at 565, but they left the 18K concessions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, it ends up being seven. I put 3% because psychologically, this is something I do. I put 3%. If I put a dollar amount there, people sometimes, but I put
Right.
3% of the sales price, and it's less of an impact to their, psyche. And they countered with 565 left it. Well, I asked Matt, I go, how much of a dick would I be if I tried to beat him up on anything from the inspection? And it wasn't from the case of being greedy. I want the house. It was just like trying to get that best deal possible kind of mentality.
Right.
Sometimes I think I can shoot myself in the foot by doing that, but sometimes you win. I got 120K off the last one. So it just depends on how bad the seller. But anyway, Matt said he'd be afraid of the sellers walking, and basically he implied he wouldn't do it. So, which surprised me because Matt's a go-getter kind of guy. So FYI for anybody listening, that's kind of a gotcha area. And the reason it even popped up in my head is I normally don't do that. Normally I do a pass fail. But this was a retail seller, and on one of the contracts, call me bad, but I saw the address they moved to, and it's a freaking mansion, right? And it's nice, and they're in an area. So I was like, damn, they did buy this house in 2009, and they're just now selling it, so they got a ton of equity. So there probably is room there, but more, I don't know if it's a moral issue or a financial one at that point. But I'll probably leave it alone. Everything's pretty much new. The only thing that could go wrong would be the foundation.
Well, my deal originally they were asking 175. I originally offered 129, no inspections.
Wow.
Well, yeah, they came back with that saying 150, but then I said then I have to have inspections.
There you go.
So now I've dropped it down to another 10,000 lower, so it's 5,000 more than my original because I knew what was going on. And
Yeah.
then they came back and said, no, we don't want to lower it. I said, fine, then you get me a mold inspection.
Just mold.
Just mold.
What market are you in, Jim?
It's in California.
Oh,
So
okay.
more than anything else, I can take care of anything there. It's just a little bit more coverage because this is going to be a down to stud gut. It's
Yeah.
just a little bit of a play area that I want.
What's your ARV calculations on this thing?
What's that?
What's your after repair value calculations on
Oh,
this?
I'll make 75,000 after remodel, and then I'll also be cash flowing about 250 per unit.
So you're gonna keep it.
Oh, I'm going to keep it.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's two houses on one property. So my I think I'm gonna long-term rental the bigger one and short-term rental the other one just for a little bit of time, see if it does anything.
Nice.
Just give me a little bit more cash flow if it works out.
This is interesting. I know that we've all been on here a while and we talk, and occasionally we talk about deals, but it just seems to me in the last 2 months, because the sellers, I think, are in certain markets. I get it, New Hampshire's different, but the sellers are really starting to capitulate. They're like, hey, look, I don't really. I was just telling Robert before we hit record here that in my market anyway, Arizona, it typically is about 16% of the seller, or somewhere in the just over double digits, sellers have to sell in general. And this is an estimate from the real estate agents, by the way, based on surveys. So it's people responding, and now it's jumped up to 24% of the sellers in the Arizona market are in the need to sell category. But what's interesting, the other 76%, there's other categories or whatever, but you can chunk a bigger chunk of those folks up to testing the market. So it's, yes, your need to sell is increasing, but also there's more supply, there's more sellers in the market that are jumping up, and they're just testing the water. So
Yeah.
in my head, I see it as a quarter of the offers I make may get accepted.
Well, I'm going to keep going with this. I think a lot of these short-term rentals at the end of, as soon as the rates come down a little bit, I think a lot of short-term rentals are going to go on the market.
I bet, because they're breaking
They're
even.
not making any money. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing. They put them on when it was doing really well, and it's a couple years later. I think they're just going to go away.
I think you nailed it, which is going to be interesting because the supply is going to go up in a lot of
Yeah.
these markets and the rates are coming down. And guess what? More buyers are going to be in there. That's why I personally believe I'm trying to make as many offers as I can right now.
Yeah.
I'm a believer. I mean, we're at what, 6, 7 or whatever the hell it is. And if you're a first time home buyer, it's in the low sixes, and then they could pay points to get to fives. Dude, I mean, I think there's going to be more and more buyers coming in, and I'm trying to get ahead of that curve. I know I'm going to pay more and I'm going to have rates a little higher, but I don't care, down the road. I mean, as long as they cash flow now, like Zuber says, and all the others, they cash flow now. That just gives you the hedge. I mean, that just gives you the potential to decrease that in the future. And if they don't, oh well.
Yeah. The only thing I'm looking for
That's
about that.
actually very insightful on the Airbnbs because um, my my family puts their house um, in Maine. The house has been the family forever. We well, not Airbnb, but Verbo it during the summer, and we have an agent up there who handles it. And we've been talking to that agent, and she's been said, yeah, we've had a bunch of struggling Airbnbs and Verbos, people who like bought like in 2020, 2021, 2022 at the high prices, thinking they're going to make bank, all of a sudden when you don't have as many people, going there because I noticed in that area a lot where we had our house, like there, it was all of a sudden like very busy there and a lot more people because people were just didn't have to show up to the office or anything. So everyone just stayed there and rented out those Airbnbs and Verbos. But now, people are struggling and yeah, I
Yep.
think you might be right. We just happen to be lucky there because we have the unique property that's like 70 acres and like houses like multiple families, but like all the other people who bought, more of the generic,
Right.
cottages, they're we've talked to the person who runs that, and like they said, they're a little bit in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
That's
real estate's market dependent, right? Like if you got a house near the Grand Canyon, you're good, right? You got one in Zion, Zion in Utah, whatever, you're good. But I'd say, whatever that percentage is, a larger percentage of the Airbnb operators are fairly new. They bought when rates are low. So they can't sell off because it's tanking because the economy, let's face it, is in the toilet. It's just going to go down. I mean, you judge whatever. But that rates dropping thing, yeah, I think it's going to protect,
yeah.
not force, but it's going to allow people to put stuff on the market and try to take advantage of that buying portion.
Well, and a
Well,
lot of
think
those
of like,
people,
Not to mention regulations killing on
yeah.
Airbnb too.
oh yeah, Vegas, Airbnbs in Vegas, they're getting crushed because of fines.
Yeah, it's a perfect storm.
Well, a lot of those short-term rental people didn't realize how big of a business it is.
Yeah,
It is not in a passive thing. It is a flat-out
yeah.
business,
There,
and you have to treat it as that. And they just didn't realize it.
there's a guy named Jimmy Fuentes. He's from Jersey, but he bought up some houses in Florida when things were good and was running
Yeah,
those Airbnbs and the cleaning costs and all this stuff. I presented him. I was in a meeting of co-living and I mentioned it, and he switched over one property as a pilot, and then he switched them all. He had a total of 9 over time. But his reason for it was so funny. It was the cleaning costs and the
Yeah,
turnover, right? He's like, it's ridiculous and it costs so much and it's a headache. So there's time involved, not just the monetary portion, it's the amount of time you're spending on the business. And believe it or not, the co-living was less time for him. It's all about perspective, right? So his perspective and his relevance was all this turnover for Airbnbs and the cost of cleaning and people messing up the house, his assets. So he switched to co-living, and for him, it's way better. From a long-term rental state going to co-living, yeah, that's insane. But from an Airbnb operator going to co-living, this is better.
now, for your co-living, are you doing it to where it's one lease and then all those people are combined on that lease? Or are you doing separate leases?
Depends. So with pad split, that's essentially what you're doing. You're basically you're signing a lease with this entity, pad split, and that the way their entity's set up is the people that come into the property, they're members, right? So you're doing a member agreement. So there is a separate member agreement with that entity, but then my relationship to that pad split entity is a tenant. So that's my tenant. That's another way they get away with the landlord friendly thing.
Okay.
So I
So
do
they're
have
getting away with
one
zoning
tenant.
from that.
Yes, I have one
Okay.
tenant. And then if the neighbors or whoever wants to push it further, they can. But so far they've stood up in court because we don't have a lease agreement. We have a member agreement, right? And you can
Right.
argue with morale and all that, but I'm just saying that's what it is. So
Gotcha.
my co-living, this Gilbert one I'm buying is going to be a co-living only, no pad split. So I actually reverse engineered the pad split model, and I have a member agreement that I will be the entity and I will be having a member agreement. So now for me, might open me up to a little bit tougher litigation, but there's so many people that have been doing this for like 20 years. And I've talked to a lot of the hosts that have been doing this for a long time. And so far it's held up. And,
Well,
and, and
college
on
is
top of the need for housing and everything, I don't think the municipalities are going to go after it, right? They're gonna want this
yeah.
is the hope.
It depends on the area. Colleges have been doing this all over the place. There's
Right.
apartment complexes in my area that's all they are.
Right. Yeah. Hey Lindsay, I saw you join. Hey Herman, how you doing? Sorry, we got into a little bit of a niche topic there. So
Hey, hi.
yeah. Well, congrats, Jim. That's cool, man. Good luck with that.
Yeah, my problem right now is I've got so much. I'm got so many jobs going right now, and those two properties getting ready to turn. It's like I
Yeah.
don't know where I'm gonna get all the time. I just
Well,
don't.
that I think the good thing about that is you'll find out where you're at. I knew, but I did bring two properties on at the same time, and I realized I don't want to do that again. So I'm slowing down on the acquisition side because I got this one and I want to just see it through, and then I'll start ramping up the
My
acquisition.
brain works better with more to do.
Okay.
If I have nothing to do, I am. I,
Did,
I don't know. I'm just nuts.
you're not a W. Are you a W-2 guy?
No, I'm a
Okay.
self-employed contractor.
Self-employed. Okay, so you
Yeah.
can do that. I'm
Yeah.
W-2 and I'm split, so
Yeah, I'll end up subbing out more than I was originally planning on. Which will probably help me on the flips because then it's not me using my time, which I can't write off.
right. Right.
So
Good point. That's a very good point.
yeah,
That book, Who Not How, touches on the periphery of that. I mean, it's basically telling you, hey, leverage other people, but there's also some comments about that as well.
yeah. I would make more profit on it if I did it myself. That takes my time away.
Yeah,
And where's my time more valued?
exactly.
So
Wow, this is a good one, man. Right out of the gate. I like this. People are fired up.
yeah, I'm having to go through and redo all my schedules for my electrical and plumbing because everything changed prices so much from last year. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, man. I think that's gonna get a little rough moving forward with
Oh yeah. No,
yeah,
I can't. As soon as we got Maui, we got Paradise still, we have
yeah.
Sonoma still, we
Florida,
have
North
LA,
Carolina. Yeah.
all of those things on the West Coast. It is going to cause a perfect storm. Plus tariffs, it's
Yep.
going to be a perfect storm in the next couple of years.
Did you hear what Scott Bessent categorized this as?
Uh,
And now that I said it out loud, I got to remember what he said. He said, oh crap. Damn it. Oh gosh, that's right. Basically rip the band-aid off. We're gonna have a little bit of pain to recover. And I forgot the word. There's a nice word to use for that, and it's escaping me. Um, oh, detox. That's what he said. We got to go through a detox because we've been on this low rate drug for so long or whatever it was that we're going to go through a little bit of detoxing. And I'm like, man, that is such a interesting way to phrase that. Like we're going to have some pain, for a
Yeah.
while. But
Yeah. I
Trump
really
has
want to get,
said, I mean, I
I
don't
want
want
to
to
get 6 properties flipped in the next roughly year
okay.
between now and next year, because that's when I think the price is going to start creeping up.
Yeah. I think, I'm trying to get political, but our president has said that he wants to, this is through Glenn Beck and some others, that he wants to, we're going to go through some pain, but he wants to get that recovery going in under a year. So
Right.
that's good. I mean, yeah, it's going to suck for a while. For most of us on this meeting, we're going to be fine. But if you're in that lower, economic scale, you're going to be feeling it more than, I mean, even more than we already have, and that sucks. But after that, we should hopefully turn that corner and start recovering. All right.
But is yours more turnkey? You just have to adapt it for what you're doing for your type of operation?
For rent by room,
Yeah.
what you mean?
Is the property turnkey, but you just have to adapt your doors and stuff for the rent by room?
Properties are definitely not turnkey.
Okay.
This particular one actually has a kitchen that I'm not even gonna touch, which is awesome. That'll save me some money. But yeah, I'm gonna this, and also it's a six. Is it a three? Yeah, it's a 6'3". So I'm just gonna add, or no, yeah, 6'3". I'm gonna add 2 bedrooms, and I'm thinking about adding a half bath because I can.
Gotcha.
But I'm switching gears. Like I was using pad split and I was doing week to week. This is going to be a 3 month lease, unfurnished. I've been doing a lot of research, and it's so awesome, man. I love when I run conservative numbers, and I haven't brought it on the market yet, nothing. But all the research is showing me that because it's Gilbert, Arizona, it's a higher end, more affluent neighborhood. So there's only 2 houses there are close to it on pad split at all. Both of them are full, and then on the Zillow and apartment stock, all those other markets there, all of that on average, and you have to, look at the property, look at your product. Like you could have a higher end, lower end, but on average, it's about 975. I've ran all my numbers at 800 for rent by room. So I'm thinking I might kick it up to 850, hell, maybe even 900. But coming out of the gate, I'll probably undershoot it just to fill it because that's how I've been operating. And I'm going to have some turnover. But yeah, I'll add 2 bedrooms, and I'll clean up some things here and there. So it's not turnkey by any means, but the people if you're asking from the members, yeah, they show up and everything's done.
Right. No, I was asking for your end.
Yeah. No, I don't know if there's a. I take that back. There is, believe it or not, I did have one that was turnkey because some guy out there decided to change a house into an 8-3, and then he was trying all these weird strategies, and then he tried pad splits, a last ditch effort, and then just wanted out. So I bought that one turnkey, which is not normal. I'd say the chances of that are like 1%. It's really, really low. I mean, I literally bought it and had one active member in it and just launched it. So that's not normal. But believe it or not, I got one of those.
So if you were trying to get into this, would you recommend starting out with a pad slip and then switching to your area?
You know what? I would. And here's why. If you're just starting off, I call pad split the training wheels of co-living, right? Because they've taken care of the member acquisition, the rent collection, and all that kind of stuff. They even give you a framework for maintenance and all that stuff. So if you've never done it, yeah, but am I going to go forward with pad split? No, because to me, well, one, I've learned all those things, but two, it's not cost effective. Now, if you're looking at it from a dollar perspective, monetary perspective, it may not make sense, especially in the first year, because you're going to take a bath for that first 6 months. But from a knowledge gaining perspective, I think it's worth it, and that is almost more valuable than the dollar. If you can carry the mortgage, and if you can do that, then I would say go for it. And I was lucky enough to come in at a time when the fee structure was static and not this variable crap they're pulling with this 10, they take 10 days of every new member. That to me screws up the whole model, which I just looked this morning. We were at 140 units on average when they had their legacy fee structure. We're down, and we've came way down. We're down to 32 units online on pad split in the entire Phoenix Metro Valley. I mean, that's huge. And that I attribute that to one, well, I don't know if this is true, but my guesstimate on this is because they changed their fee structure, other investors, hosts just dried up. They're like, nope,
Yeah.
not doing that. Doesn't make any sense. and they kind of shot themselves in the foot. Now it's possible, like I didn't look at the total unit. It's possible that maybe Pad Split's marketing engine just took off and it just filled all those rooms magically or whatever, which is part of it, part of that equation for sure. But going from 140 down to 32 in like 4 months or 5 months, that's pretty drastic move. So I'm actually happy about it because my houses are all full. I was pissed originally because I was like, damn it, I can't buy a new one and go forward because the numbers don't work. And now I'm like, hey, wait a minute. The other side of that coin is my existing properties, they're all full. So I'm like, I'm happy.
So the numbers really don't work for the pad split part of it, but with the way you're going, the numbers work.
The way I'm going, well, for the existing properties, they still work, right? Because moving forward, they don't work with pad split, but moving forward, doing co-living myself, they work fantastic, even better than because I don't have that management fee, that property
Right.
management fee. So I just have to insert. Matter of fact, I talked to Dana quite a bit at the ORAT, and she even came out on his Zuber's channel. I was the one, by the way, that if you guys watch that video where she said, "Oh, I was talking to a co-living host that said he only buys corner lots." That was me for parking.
Right.
But I was talking to her and I like what she had to say. I mean, they're not there yet, but I think in the next like 3 years they'll be the pad split alternative in a way. But right now there's only 1 to 2%. It's not worth it for them to invest the time and energy and all that to do that. But as this picks up momentum, which I believe it will, I think it'll be viable, economically viable for them to invest in that strategy in their service offerings, in the Hemlane service offerings. But right now it seems pretty good. We'll see. I'm going to test it out.
Now, have you looked at Door Loop at all?
I don't even know what that is.
Door Loop's another management company. That's the one that Matt likes because he has a problem with Dana for some reason. I don't know the in-depth on that. But I've got a meeting with Door Loop tomorrow.
Is it LOOP?
LOOP, Door
Oh
Loop.
man, that's funny. I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah. It's better for more doors, from what I understand. I want ease of entry right now because I'm only going to have one technically because the short-term rental is going to be on a different platform. So I'm not sure which way I'm going yet.
Okay. Interesting. Cool, man. I don't know. I might even create my own damn thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of nuances to this, and it depends on like for the people that don't do co-living and aren't interested in this. I'm going to wrap this up real fast. So I apologize, but there's many, many, many ways to slice this pie. You got your weekly, your monthly, your 3 month, and then there's unfurnished and furnished, and then there's different rules and strategies. Like, hey, do you allow guests? Do you have two people per room or single occupancy? I mean, there's all these different things, and so somebody new coming into this, their mind might be blown, but it's taking off. I have more and more people talking about this, and even Dana said that at the ORAT. She goes, "That's the number one question she gets is the rent by room," and I think the reason for that is it's freaking hard to make long-term rentals cash flow in some of these markets, right? In a lot of these markets. So the rates come down, that'll change. But for now, I think more and more people are looking at that cash flow, which is how I got started in there to begin with a couple of years ago. So I think I got lucky because I was a little bit more on the beginning edge of that deal.
Yeah, my only concern with it is the same thing that's happening with SDRs. If legislation figures out a way to kill it.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how they're going to do that in college towns.
Yeah.
Because college towns have that. Most of the colleges don't even have space to house everybody.
Yeah, the markets will find a way. Like
Yeah.
you can put roadblocks. The water is going to flow around those walls. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just how it might take some time, but I think it will. So,
Yeah.
all right. What's our next hot topic?
Actually, there is, on that note, there is something to say about that, how towns have, I think, have gone very creative of blocking that whole rent by room thing. And saying that basically, if you rent by room, you're now a boarding house and you need special zoning for that and making a bunch of buildings non-compliant.
Yeah, in certain markets. I mean, that's why a lot of people like Ken McElroy, they only invest in landlord-friendly states, for those type of things.
Well, that's a very common practice in New Hampshire of designating any rent by room as zone as a boarding house.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan says in the comments, he says that member agreement falls under what's called a PMA, or private membership association. private being the key word that limits the regulations. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So as long as that holds up, we're good. I think what was it, Saleka and Jeff or whatever, the house hacking on steroids, what they're doing, getting into houses every year for cheap debt and moving on. Man, that is such a cheat code. My wife will absolutely not let me do that whatsoever. But fortunately, we don't need to, but I would like to. I would like to supercharge it that much more. So like people that are getting into this game and getting into the real estate game and want to do rentals, man, I know everybody preaches that, but it's so true. It's like that is such a cheat code if you can do it.
Oh yeah. But I've been through so many remodels in my own houses that my wife won't do another house hack. No
Yeah.
way. And I don't blame her. She's been through a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Well, we
We was
didn't
able to park in a garage for 20 years.
we've moved quite a bit, but not for the investing side of things. It was simply we just traded up and traded up and traded up and traded up. And then we probably would have traded up again, but rates went nuts. And then that's a good thing because then I got into real estate because taxes pissed me off. So here I am. So I'm glad it happened the way it did. I wish it would have happened, 10 years ago, but I'd be retired and somewhere. But all right, Ryan, you're pretty quiet. You fishing again today?
No, but I'm working on the pond again, so I am around fish.
Sounds fishy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, really enjoying this conversation though.
Yeah, man, it's pretty good.
I'm not remembering the Supreme Court case. It's actually the most quoted Supreme Court case in history. I want to say Hales versus Henkel, something like that. But it talks about privacy and it talks about the individual versus a corporation and how the individual is unlimited to contract. They have unlimited ability to contract, and that's basically talking about the PMAs and how it's a private membership association.
I'm gonna search that real. Whoops, I put in Kankle instead of Hankel. That might give me a different result. Oh yeah, overview of Hale versus Hankel, 201 US 43.
That sounds like the one.
Yeah, I'll post it in the chat for anybody that wants to look at this later, but all right. I'll read it later too. No. Oops, it won't let me post that big of a chat. Damn it. All right. Well, you'll have to Google it. I'll put the overview of I'll put the title in there. You can Google it yourself for anybody's interested. So
are you only doing co-living or are you doing other stuff as well?
I'm focused on it, man. When I started off, I early heard about the focus, the fixate on one course until successful, which is why a lot of people in the creative spaces I'm in, like Sub2 and Gator and all the creative masterminds and whatnot, they go out and they try to find the best deal and then they match the exit strategy to the deal. I think that's great. That's awesome for people that want to do all that. Now my game is cash flow with potential for appreciation, but it's also if I'm known as the co-living guy 10 years from now or 5 years, whatever it is, then those type of opportunities. Actually, the third house came to me that way because the guy that it came to me. So I won't. My theory is I won't have to work as hard for my niche over time. So I mean, yeah, I'm cash flowing and appreciation, all that wonderful stuff, but also from a marketing standpoint or the brand, if you will, like a lot of people don't do that. I'm kind of putting that into the mix there because I want to be the co-living guy for multiple reasons. One, I want to get really good at a specific target thing in a one. And also that's another reason I'm not in like 500 states or whatever. I know people are all over the place. I said this to a person yesterday I was on the phone with who's way, way up there, way above me, makes a lot of great. And I said, hey, look, I've known you long enough now where I feel like it's comfortable to say this. And I said, you're all over the place. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're in multiple states. And she says, funny you should mention that because I'm trying to switch back to they started in co-living, right? And they did a couple co-living houses and then they branched off to this and branched off to that. They've got a lot of money. And so they shiny object syndrome took over, right? And I was like, I didn't do that route. But yeah, so I'm focused on co-living for just it's my gut feel. I want to get good at something. And then maybe in the future, who knows? Like I don't do stocks, I don't do anything. I do 100% real estate. in the Phoenix Metro, co-living, that's it.
Yeah, I'm doing the thing. My main thing is just value add, finding the best value add property I can. I'll figure out whether I'm going to flip it, whether I'm going to short term it, whether I'm going to long term it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing is finding value add. Because I'm utilizing my HELOC, paying for cash for it all, getting all done, getting the DSCR'd out, and then moving on to the next thing.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Because I don't the hard money's fine, but man, those points will kill you.
yeah.
And I want to avoid that.
Yeah, Zuber's idea of a buy box for me is key because what he says is it allows you to say no to everything else.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing with my strategy is I have a buy box, I have a state or whatever. All that other stuff that is noise, like I'm one person. If I have something that detracts me from my goal or splits off my time, my resources, what have you, it's not going to get me there faster. I mean, I may be diversified and that's great, but for me, I want to get to my goal first and then diversify. But for now, I want to focus to fixate on one course until successful. Once I'm successful, then I can look. But that buy box mentality gives you the permission to say no to all this wonderful stuff you hear about every freaking day. So for me, that way I focus the limited time I do have, because I do have a W-2, on my co-living, and that's where I come out. But everybody's got different strategies, personalities, a job. Maybe like you're self-employed. You could afford to maybe do some of that stuff. I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, eventually, I want to actually flip my business to that. But for right now, I'm going to keep doing the remodels and everything else. But once I get to 6 to 8 properties, I want to completely flip over to that value add. And that'll be my primary business. I'll take on small stuff here and there for remodel, but I don't want to be that my primary focus.
Right. You brought up a good point there. Just because you're focused on whatever you're doing, like me, doesn't mean you don't learn about other things. Like I spent a lot of time with Jason Pritchard at the ORAD event because he's a flipper. He flips 3, 4, 5, whatever he flips. He flips so many and then holds, flips so many and then holds for tax purposes. So
right.
I'm learning about that game. I'm talking to flippers and all that. Doesn't mean I'm doing anything with it. The reason I'm doing that is because when I get to 9, which this next house will be 4, we'll probably get to 7 or probably 7 realistically, but hopefully 8 this year. But let's say 7 and then 2 the next year. I'm done. I'm done with my, well, this is going to be recorded online, but I don't care. My W-2, nobody from my W-2 is going to make it a half hour into this video anyway. But I'm done. I'm out, and then I'm going to go because I'll surpass my net from my W-2. And if I stayed at the W-2, I could grow faster, most likely. But so who knows, maybe that'll change. Maybe I'll get to 10, 11, 12, whatever, until I feel super comfortable. But the point is, I stop at a certain point 2 years from now, let's say, and then I go on to the next piece of this, which is I want to get into flipping because I think I could do well with it. And if I find the right deals, yeah, it's going to be slow, but that's the next evolution. So thinking chess wise, that's the next move.
Yeah, I want to flip and hold though. I don't want to flip because they take too much out of it. Taxes with the real estate agent, you're looking at 35, 40% gone.
Which is why you flip a certain amount, 3, 4 houses, and then hold or cherry pick your flips, or get to that point and you hold, throughout that tax year. That's why your accountant is so important. Like, hey, you've made X amount of money on these flips, which means you have to buy this house before the end of the year and have that as the write-off piece. That way, that zero-sum game or even bonus, great. But to me, I'm trying to get that zero-sum game, and I haven't hit it yet, and it's going to be a while before I do because the W-2 just sucks. I mean, it's a necessary evil for me right now.
Right. I've never had a W-2.
Yeah. Well, congrats. That's awesome, man.
So, but the one thing that's nice about the flip, so if you hold it for a year, it drops down to capital gains rather than income. And that's from date of purchase, which is something I just found out about. Yeah. I thought that was going to be something else, but it's from date of purchase.
But you're still paying taxes on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You just don't pay the higher tax, just paying the lower tax. I'm a greedy bastard. I don't want to pay any tax.
Well, here's the thing though, and I was talking to Matt about it. You can actually 1031 a flip.
Okay.
I got to look into that more, but if you can 1031 flips, I'll do them all day long.
What is that, after 6 months, something like that? Or
I think it's after a year. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I gotta find out. But if the second you tell me I can 1031 it, then I'll rent it for 6 months or short-term rent it for 6 months and then flip it out. Just get some. I'll eat some more costs, but I'll do something with it to make it so.
But you'll make up on the back end with that tax aversion. Yeah, that's the reason people ask me. I had my first house done and it sat for 2 months. And it didn't go live until January 1st. But the reason I did that was for the tax purposes. So if you do the math, it was worth it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
lost out on 2 months of potential income, but on the back end, tax wise, it was a no brainer. So I did the short term rental loophole thing, rented it 3 times, within under 7 days, materially participated, 250 hours, all that crap, and then shut it down. And it sat vacant for 2 months. And people are like, that's so stupid. You're so dumb. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then
Yeah.
I got 45 grand in taxes back. So I'm like,
Yeah,
like,
no, do the
yeah,
math, people.
yeah, who's dumb now, right? Like, if
Yeah.
you make 45 grand in 2 months, now granted, I had other expenses and things like that, but I got to write off, all the construction costs and the acquisition and all of it, right? So to me, it
Right.
was just a freaking no-brainer. So
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, we're getting really off the rails, and indeed, this might be good, might be bad. I don't know. Let's see what people think. Anybody have any comments or new topics or anything?
Hey Jared, I'm just now putting together that cost seg report at the DIY cost seg site and saw the video from Matt and Dion the other day. They were just talking about that, and I'm just getting my things together. So, glad you're talking about this topic too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm behind. I have that on my task list and I haven't got it yet. See, this is why W-2s are great, but they're horrible because they cut into your real estate investing time.
I definitely feel the same pain.
Yeah, man. That's awesome,
Yeah.
dude. Have you used it yet? Have you done anything with the interface, DIY Cossack?
I just start looking at it. I see that there, a whole bunch of questions and stuff, and like building like materials and all that stuff. I'm just sitting down today. That's my plan for today actually, to
We
go through those questions and see how I should answer that more correctly and intelligently. And
Yeah.
any thought about that?
Yeah, so I would love to sync up with you on this because I'll tell you, Cosseg EZ I've done in the past, and you plug in the numbers and it's okay. Well, they changed a couple questions on there that I can't answer, right? And I'm like, holy crap! So I need to figure out how to answer those. So I was curious about the DIY Cosseg to see how they've done it. I get the high level for people listening that do Cossegs. You can't depreciate your land, right? So you got to
Hmm.
deduct that. And so, like Mark Kohler will tell you, I think what is it, 30%? You can just take your purchase price and cut 30% off of that, and that should cover you for your quote unquote land costs. But then again, market dependent, right? Like say San Diego, probably not gonna. It's probably gonna be, I don't know, maybe Ryan comment on that, but San Diego land is probably going to be more than the 30%. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. So going through that process is not it's not easy, right? It's fairly rough.
Comprehensive. Yeah,
Yeah. I even
yeah.
thought about spending the $3,300 with I forgot David Weiner, I think his name is the guy that does actual physical engineers come out to your house cost seg. And I thought about doing one once. That's the guy Zuber used, by the way. I forget his first. I think it's David or it's Weiner or Weiner. I think he says it's Weiner, but I have his email if somebody wants it. But I thought about doing that just to pay that cost once, just so I could see what a real one's like and see how the breakdown is, and then use that moving forward. But haven't done it.
But for the land value, I mean, I didn't really think of it too much. I was just thinking I can go to the appraisal, and then from the appraisal court, they always have this land value, market value, and property or building value, right? So I was just thinking about using that, just plug that number in.
Yeah, that's probably the way to do it. You said
I
that
don't
out
know.
loud.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, what's funny is, man, I think you just nailed it there, and I have to admit something that I feel really dumb. That's probably the best way to do it. I went off purchase price and just listened to some other stuff, but yeah, good call, man. Thanks for that. I just wrote that one down.
Yeah, love to catch up on compare how the two interfaces work.
You know what I think is one of the things that is so powerful about this community, like for the people that went to ORAT, that somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody touched on it. Doesn't matter where you are on the stack. You could just be interested all the way to having like 180 units, and everybody communicates, and there is no, well, at least I feel like there's no, I think it was Marcus Shiro. There's no judgment. There's only help. There's only positive help. And that, dude, that's awesome. That's a pretty powerful thing for anybody up and down the stack. And I think that's why the group that's on here and the people that are participating. So don't get me wrong, Zuber, Dion, Matt, those guys are fantastic. Love them to death. But all of them are 10 years plus in their journey, right? They've probably forgotten. Now they still touch back on things, but reality is they're a decade ahead, right? And so it's probably hard for them to remember what it was like to start. So like for us, like I'm a year in, right? Like I'm brand new. Most of us here are fairly new. I don't know, maybe somebody further along, but we're closer to the beginning than where they are. And I think that helps a lot because we relate to each other more, the struggles and, oh yeah, man, I had that, or hey, I did this. And so this piece of the community, I think, is super important. And I love the fact that I don't think that's normal in a lot. It doesn't matter what it is, sports or whatever. I mean, usually there's some like competition, but in this case, I think there's more than enough to go around. So therefore, people are just, hey, and plus we're in different markets, so it really doesn't matter anyway. But I think it's one of the pieces of this puzzle I think is so fantastic about the ORAC community. And I don't know how the hell Zuber did it, but if you could bottle that up and sell it and replicate that into different things, you'd be a multi-billionaire.
Yeah, but like
Well,
they'll say, everybody has their own journey in different times or different challenges.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, but
I would love to have had that 2020 or 21 time where they all got that 4% interest on their whole portfolio. That ain't going to happen again. So I think the lowest we'll ever get is 555.
Yeah, we'll
It's not
see.
going to go down to a
well,
4.
I think
well,
Robert was
well,
saying.
think of. Oh, I was just saying, like, why would it make sense to like make enemies out of people or condescend on people? Like you said, it's like we're all in different markets, but like even so, it's like everyone here has a different experience. I can learn. We can all learn from. Everyone has different ways of doing things. Some people buy turnkey, some people buy out of market, some people decide to buy free units and gut all of them at the same time. Um, but yeah, like even if some people were in the same market, it's like I'm not looking for a deal right now. I just got my deal. I want to like add units. I need to slow down and focus on that. If I were to buy another deal, I would be probably in trouble. I could, at the same time, I could still be friends with someone else in my market who's still looking for a deal. And then at the same time, I think Matt was talking about this. It's like pass it on. Like make a friend,
Yeah.
pass it on. There's enough deals to go around, and you'll get paid back. So I even think you're saying we're not in the same markets. I think it's important to have friends in the same market,
Yeah.
and just pass it on. I
Dude,
see it as there's enough deals for both of you, or maybe there isn't. Maybe you just want to own everything. I certainly don't want to own every property in my market. That would kill me. I'm at eight right now, looking to add 10 with this rehab, and my stopping point's probably going to be somewhere around 30. But it's like I only need 30.
right,
Out
right.
of all the markets I'm in, there's way more than 30. So as I see, it's just like move on to move on to the next one. And if someone gets the deal and you don't get the next, just get the next one. Who knows? Maybe because they got the deal, not you. Maybe they overpaid, and maybe they're going to be selling in a couple of years. Keep keep on their friends list, and you can be their buyer.
That's a good way to look at it. For me, it's more pronounced. Like I have changed. Like most people, I'm 50. Most people my age, they don't change, right? I used to be like up until say 49, I used to be probably one of the most pessimistic people out there. Everything's a scam. This is that. And I always saw it as a zero sum game, like there's a winners and losers. And then my complete paradigm shift after. So this is why I like Pace Morby. I was like, that guy's full of shit. He's scamming. There's something wrong. And I dug in hard on that stance for like a month straight, digging in, digging in, digging in. And I couldn't disprove him. So what do they say? If you can't beat him, join him kind of thing. That's not what I was getting at. But so I dug into that and then I made money like and I was like, holy crap, this guy's not full of shit. He's actually telling people this is the way. And then it just ramped up from there. So for me, it was a mind shift change. And then meeting this community, I've only had one other thing in my life that's like this, which is off-roading. Because if you go out into the woods in the middle of nowhere, you better have people with you in case you break down, that kind of thing. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of that because I'm in corporate and it's very cutthroat and everybody, da 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 da. So I didn't have that even an inkling of that until I met real estate. And then real estate has actually made me a better person. I know that's weird. I'm going off on the different tangent, a mental tangent, but for me, I like it for that reason too, because I don't know, it changed me for the better, right? So I'm all, you know, I'm just better because it's opened my mind to other things. And I know I'm admitting something kind of weird there, but just FYI. So that's why I'm so. If you see me on here, I'm all happy and jittery and happy because I'm just a better person. You guys have made me a better person. So there you go. Kumbaya.
What type of off-roading?
Hardcore off-roading, like going out, way off the beaten path and basically rock bouncers. Have you ever seen those guys in Tennessee that fly up hills and stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that crazy, but pretty crazy. I had a 500 horsepower Jeep, my 14th wheeling rig. That was my, here's a BKM for you if you guys haven't heard this before. A best known method. Sorry. If you have, so what happened was I was into rock crawling all since I got in the Army and then played in the mud with the Humvees and tanks and stuff. It was really cool. Get out. I wanted to do it again. So I got into off roading. Well, that was my hobby since 96. I just sold my Jeep last year to buy this first house. And when I did that, my wife, because I came home one day and said, "Hey, honey, I'm quitting my job and I'm gonna go do real estate." And you can imagine that reaction. And so it didn't go over well. But then when I sold that Jeep, she knew, oh wow, he is super serious, right? So that flipped my wife's thing, and now we're both on board. And she actually came to the ORAD event, and that was awesome, man. That was such a big deal for me that I worked on her for 6 months to go, and she loved it and she had fun. She loved you guys, Robert. She talked to all you guys and everybody that was there. And so, man, so everything's going in a good direction here, for me, anyways.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have UTV quad, and then I have two jet skis.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. I'm like 45 or 30 minutes from the lake, and I'm 30 minutes from an ATV area. So
Oh, cool.
I can get all loaded up. I'm in and out for 3 hours and go back to work.
Nice.
Have you seen Blake Wilkie's video? I think it's Urban Assault. Oh man, it's really cool. He's a local fabricator here in San Diego, and he took a Baja Bug and just tricked it out, gave it something like, I don't know, 50-inch suspension, and then drove it around the town through town, like on places that people aren't supposed to drive on.
Oh man, I'm looking at it now. That thing is cool as hell.
Oh yeah, dude, that video is really cool. He's got a series of 3 of them. One of them he does in TJ, and because he can get away with it more so in TJ. But yeah, he's pretty cool. I've met him personally. He's a friend of a friend, and yeah, he's a really really cool dude.
That's cool.
That video was a lot of fun though. Definitely watch that.
I'm trying to whoops, I have it up, but I'll go to YouTube. I'll share it in the links here if anybody's interested in this kind of thing. I'll watch it later.
I think that was his debut video that actually got him famous because he's now well sponsored. But he ended up getting arrested for doing that and putting it on YouTube, and that's what got him a name.
See, that's why you need Ken Block. I know Ken Block passed away, but when Ken Block did it, he got the approvals from the city and film crew and all that stuff, and he set up where he was jumping over streets and craziness. He was racing that helicopter. Remember that?
Yeah, I really liked how Mike put on the mental health and the physical health on the in the event, because that's why what I use the quads and the wave runners for is it's a release. I
Yeah.
got my mind's just on so many different things. I go out there and I'm not thinking about any of that stuff for 3 hours. I'm just thinking about something else.
Amen. There's a lot to be said for that because I went hardcore for a year, and I mean heads down. I still am pretty intense on it, but I backed off. Yesterday I went to the swim park with the kids, and that I wouldn't have done that a year. We hung out, and I left my phone in the truck, all that. I didn't even have it with me, and I enjoyed the time with the family. So that I agree with you. It's super important, and a lot of us, we get in that heads down mode, and we forget about that. That people say, make sure you remember your why. Like my why is so I can spend more time with the family. So why would I sacrifice that now? I couldn't be here. I might not be here tomorrow. Right. I mean, I get it. You got to go hard and you got to do it, but maybe do it in a balanced mode if you can, or at least as best as you can. Like somebody like me, I'm like, go for it. And the wife knows me well enough to where she interjects when she keeps my ballast right. And she comes in there and says, "Hey, look, you need to take a break."
Yeah, that's what with being self-employed, I was able to spend the time coaching my kids and everything else and spend time with them. Because I typically work 80 to 100 hours a week, then I straight through for 3 months, and then I take a trip.
Yeah.
So I don't do weekends. I don't have time for that. Last year was the first year I actually took some weekends off on a campsite up there, but I bought the toys because I didn't have them when I was younger and when I was my kids, because all my kids are older.
Yeah.
But I bought them so I can use them with them.
Yeah.
That's a whole reason for it. So
Awesome. You're buying your time back. Like, what do they
yeah,
say? What is that saying? You either work for your money or your money works for you.
yeah.
It's that simple. There you go. And we're all working towards getting that money to work for us so we can have the time back. Which is why I think Dion's message is so powerful. Like, so many people want to climb to that whatever status. Great, that's good for them. But you don't, like Robert just said, hey, he's gonna get to 30 and he's good. That same mentality I have. And I think that's probably a larger percentage of investors than not, it'd be my guess.
Yeah, I will never retire. I will cut way back, but I will never retire.
Mm,
I've
I,
seen too many people that do, and they just kind of fall apart.
yeah. You have to have something to do.
Yes, exactly.
Dion says that too, retire to something.
Yes.
Yeah. But my
well, that's exactly my plan too. I'm going to retire to doing whatever I want. And right now, the big item on the bucket list is hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Nice. Well, see, Robert, you're younger. Like
Yeah.
Jim, no offense, but you and I are older, right?
Yes.
So our life, like me, I was in corporate for a quarter of a century. I'm a W-2 employee through and through, just like Zuber says. That's what I know. It's what I've done. So I've got some bad habits, let's say. I'm very not dependent, but when I quit, I did focus on that first property, but once I got it done and up and running, I didn't have a job. I was looking for things, and Zuber touched on this too when he said he retired. I prior to me leaving that job and doing this, I would have told you, nah, that's not a thing. Dude, it was for me. I hit what my wife, I don't know, I'm sharing some weird stuff here, but I don't know if it's depression or whatever, but I got in a low place. My wife said she'd never seen me like that because I had been so, when you're in a W-2, that's what you do. Doesn't matter what it is. If you focus on something for 24 years and now you take that away, I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't horrible. It has an effect on you, right? And so I think that retire to something is a key thing to keep in your mindset when you're doing these things. Because let's say you do get to your 30, Robert, you're younger, so it might not be as of a big impact on you. But somebody like me, the next time I go to do something stupid and retire or leave the job, I'm going to be well prepared for it and then retire to something.
Yeah, I'm 55. I've had back surgery and knee surgery. I
Mm.
know my limitations.
I guess for me, so I'm 30 right now, and I've already had enough of corporate America.
Good for you, man. You learned
But
early.
I don't know. It's just, yeah, I guess it's weird. I just don't, I wouldn't say saying I hate my job because hate is a very strong word. There's people, there's people who I know who hate their job, and I know what hating your job is. And based on other people's stories, yeah, my job isn't that bad. But whenever I go to my job, I guess I just like it's like I go in there as like, is this really all I'm going to do for my life? Like that's literally the thought I have every day. It's like, oh, am I supposed to do this for 30 more years? Nope. I don't find it fulfilling. I don't feel like I'm living my life my best when I'm at my job. And I guess that's why I want to leave. I feel like hiking the Appalachian Trail is a much more fulfilling thing to do in life rather than just, I don't know, sit down, code. And I guess really with software, well, you were at Intel, so maybe you feel the same way. You know, when you make software, you really don't see the end result of what you're doing and you don't see the impact of it. You're just in a box and just it's like, all right, next thing, next thing. You don't actually get to see the real life impact it's having. So it feels pretty dead.
That's too bad. That's a management failure, I think. They should probably involve people, their pieces and whatnot, and show them the end result so they feel like they accomplished something. But that's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not really a corporate philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't help the bottom line. But the funny thing is it does.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does, but not on paper. It's
yeah,
one of those unquantifiable things. So that's the reason I got hired back at Intel is because I focus on the team and the people, not I mean, as a piece, and that's not normal because most people are trying to climb that corporate ladder. I never had that mentality. That just happened on its own. And then when it did, it pissed me off, and that's why I got into tax, and that's how I got here. But anyway, hey, I saw Josh join. Hey, Josh, how's it going, man?
Doing good, yeah. Just firing away and listening in. So I'm just gonna be a fly on the wall for
I
today.
was gonna say you're probably busy as hell this time of year.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's tax guy.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You missed the cost seg thing we were mentioning earlier. Have you ever dealt with any cost seg stuff?
Yeah, decent amount. You just gotta look at the pros and cons of depreciating everything so quickly and depreciation recapture if you plan on selling. But
Yeah.
it's beneficial if you're doing like a short-term rental.
So I can I ask a question that is in that realm, but you I'll ask it and you tell me if you want to respond or not. If you do a bonus depreciation, you do a cost seg and you take bonus depreciation, and then 5 years later you want a 1031 into something else, do you pay that recapture or can you transfer that over to the new asset?
Yeah, you could transfer it over.
Yes. Cool. All right, all right.
He
Cool.
just made his day.
Oh yeah, dude. So I was like, oh man, am I screwing myself here? So
Yeah, but then your just basis is really low, so eventually you just need to keep 1031ing it. Yeah.
yeah. 1031 till you die. Awesome. Thanks for answering that. I know that some people get a little hesitant, counting and all that stuff, but cool.
Hey, Lindsay, did you figure out your plumbing?
Me?
Yeah, remember you were doing that. I told you about the lift station.
Yeah, so we came up with the solution of doing the pump system.
Yeah, it's the same thing. A lift station and pump, same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So no, thank you for suggesting it. I had a question for Jim earlier since I'm doing an ADU conversion in my primary, and my contractor had told me that I had to connect into the city main sewage line, and I got two quotes from that. That's going to be $30,000 without permits. Where then I was asking Jim what I could do instead of that. So
Yeah, it drives me nuts that the plumbers don't come up with that ahead of time.
Hmm?
It drives me nuts that the plumbers don't come up with that ahead of time.
Yeah. But that was gonna be a significant drastic thing on the budget. So more
Well,
like,
not
no,
only the
we're gonna
budget,
have
but
to.
time.
Yeah.
That's going to save you a month or two because doing a tap in, you have to get it all scheduled, everything else. It's horrible.
Yeah. They said they could do it in 1 week.
Speaking of that, has anybody ever had to deal with Zensko breakers on any of properties that they've had to take out because of insurance?
I think I have a house with some in it, and that was mentioned by the inspector, but I didn't have to take them out because of the insurance. But they have faults to them, don't they?
Yeah, my insurance company's making me change my panel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, why would they make you change the panel? What do they want on the panel?
Because Zinsko breakers are known for issues, and the older they get, the more they get, the more of a liability it is. So they can actually start a fire.
Okay. But they want you to change the panel and not the breakers.
No,
Okay,
I got to
that
change the entire panel because the entire panel is Zinsko. And now it was bad when they put them in. It's even worse now that they're older.
So is that a proprietary back end to the breaker? Is that why?
No, they're just crappy breakers. They always have been.
Well, I get the breaker, but why not? I think what Robert's getting at is why not just swap out all the breakers and just leave the panel?
Because
wait, is this Federal Pacific?
That would cost you $2,000 just the breakers. And even then they wouldn't do it because they don't. The Zensko footprint is just not good.
Okay, so it's the back end of the breakers where the breakers could attach to the panel is a proprietary panel.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, proprietary and difficult to source.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I don't care what the electrical code says. Breakers are breakers. They all function in the same way. I don't buy this breaker isn't UL listed for this panel. nonsense because they all function in the same way. But yeah, I guess if the insurance, I guess, in your case, if, they want you to replace all the breakers and it's hard to source, you might as well just get like a Square D or a Simmons panel while you're at it. So you
Exactly.
have something reliable.
Correct. If I remember right, I think it was Cody Davis had to do that on one of his big properties. Insurance company made him do it too. I was just wondering if anybody else had heard that.
Did he have a Federal Pacific panel? Because if they see that, they're like out now.
No,
Because
it was
those,
they were all individual sub panels in the units.
and they made him change it because they didn't like the fact that he had sub panels.
No, because he had the Zinsco sub panels.
Oh, okay.
And
It's
they
all
were
insurance. Insurance doesn't want liability. They want to mitigate as much as they can.
and that's Zinsco for people listening, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah. So they were built from the 30s to the 70s, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
I've got crap tons of old ones.
Yeah, I'm planning a panel upgrade at my grandmother's single family house. Main panel and sub panel.
Yeah.
Because they're both Zinsco.
Yeah, certainly they've gotten better on that when you change out a panel, not having to change them to arc fault. Because I would always have arguments with building people because the wiring, it makes it so the arc fault does not work. Because they shared neutrals way back when, all the time. So now you can just put back regular breakers unless you're adding a circuit, then you have to change it to an arc fault.
Since you are our local contractor, you and Ryan, I guess, and maybe somebody else, what do you guys think about aluminum wiring in some of these houses?
That once again, insurance companies are banning that as well because the expansion
Bad.
of the aluminum wire.
What if you just pigtail off at the outlets and leave the aluminum wire? Is that okay? Like with copper?
You have to use a grease-filled wire nut for that because the expansion contraction of the aluminum makes it so it loosens up the connection. That's why the insurance companies don't like them. There's a lot of insurance companies will cancel you because of aluminum wiring.
A grease-filled wire nut, either that or maybe a crimp connection between the.
It's this grease filled the main ones you have to use because it creates it so the expansion contraction doesn't happen as much.
Okay.
But once again, they'll let you get away with the 220 circuits, but if they're fully aluminum, most insurance companies will cancel it.
Oh crap! I mean, this is gold, man.
Yeah.
I think aluminum has more resistance, so it's less efficient as far as it transferring electricity as well.
Correct.
Yeah, that's true. I know Cadillac in the car world, 12 volts, they still to this day use aluminum in some of their stuff, and I don't know why. I think it's cheaper probably, but wow, this is cool, man.
Hey, Jared, maybe you brought this up already, but how is that third number 3 property coming? Did it go through inspection and all that? And
Yeah, it'd be number 4. And so I had 2 under contract in the last 2.5 months. Both of them I had to drop because they were disasters. And trust me, I wanted them. I even told them, basically pass fail. And they were so bad I couldn't buy them. I think some of the inventory that's coming online is just it's bad because I don't know. But yeah, the 4th one's under contract. On Monday, I get the inspection. I got the spuds report or the disclosures, and everything looks awesome. This lady, it's a retail seller, and she disclosed. I've never seen this before. People normally just check the boxes and whatever. She disclosed even noise because it's close to a school. She said, "Oh, the noise about noon. There's some bells at the school." I mean, who does that, right? Which is kind of why I don't want to push them on if the inspection goes south and there's something really bad. And also Matt told me, might not want to push it, just because it seems like this person is a nice lady or whatever. But it's going well. The roof everything's under 4 years old. Like the roof has been done 4 years ago. New AC, that's important in Arizona. Just about everything's under 4 years old. So I was like pleasantly surprised, and the kitchen is already done. I don't have to touch it. So really all I got to do is add a few bedrooms and, slap some paint here and there and maybe some LVP and call it good. And I'm off to the races. So Monday's a big day. I'm hoping it goes well.
Yeah, I respect that with that agent because I'm dealing with that all the time. These agents, oh, handyman special. Yeah, it's a down to stud gut. Give me a break. They put these descriptions in there that are just worthless. And then they make their homeowners think that they have something that they don't.
Hmm.
Because this almost all the properties I'm looking at, they're so dated you can't keep any of it.
Hmm. No.
It's crazy. I mean, especially a lot of places I'm looking, you can't get a financing on a house that is just has a fireplace. You have to have some kind of alternate heat.
Hey, man, I'm hogging the show here and I really don't want to, but man, you touched on something. This house has a fireplace in it. And it's in a place where I'm not in the past. I've had fireplaces and I bust them out and put them, cap them off and put a bedroom there. In this case, the fireplace is in a spot that I'm not going to put a room in. So I don't want people putting wood in there. So I'm guessing, and I haven't done a research. I just thought of this yesterday. They have some sort of inserts you can put in there for like ambiance and just
Electric.
electric fire thing or something like that.
Yeah, so just get an electric. You have to run a 110 circuit, 12 amp. You can do 222, but most are 12. So you just drill into an electrical circuit and then you basically abandon it. Make sure you seal off the damper before you do that.
Yeah, that would, because it doesn't rain there often, but when it does, that would be bad.
Yeah, and I would also recommend capping off the top so no critters get in there ever.
Oh, I thought that's what you meant. Oh,
No, I'm talking about the damper down below.
oh, okay. So
The damper
both
in the
seal
firebox, you want to seal that off. Then you also want to cap off the top.
and top. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man.
I did the exact same thing at my house.
Yeah, I think it'll add a little something. This one I'm doing a little different because I'm going to sort of encourage the folks in the house to congregate. In the pad split, the week to week, I steer away from that, meaning I don't have common areas with TVs and places where people can fight, right? So it's just they have rooms and then some common areas like kitchen and bath, and that's about it. In this house, I'm going to put in couches, some nice area, do the ambiance thing with the fire, sort of play that up a little bit. In the other houses, I don't do grills or anything, but in this one, I think I will. I have the W2, and this is the time to experiment, right? So if I screw this up, okay, whoops, there you go, and I can pivot or whatever. But I really want to try it because Sam Wiegert, Corey Enman, a couple other big players that I can't remember their names right now. That's what they do. They unfurnish the rooms and people stay longer because, logistically they have to figure out what they need to do if they move and things like that. Plus they feel like it's their place and all that. So I'm trying to encourage that and I'm going to see how that goes. So that's why I wanted to ask about the fireplace and I'm doing it a little different on this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of tiny home communities that have that whole integration thing where outdoor area and everything communal areas,
Oh, that's a good idea.
communal garden areas, communal meeting areas, communal barbecue, communal dining type things. They have all that stuff, and it's a very big footprint. If you Google any kind of tiny home communities, they're huge.
Nice. I know there's one up.
Similar thing to what you're trying to do, and then because then it actually stops some of that infighting because people get to know each other.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's totally true. Like in corporate, I had this big project. It ended up taking us 5 years. We had to consolidate all of Intel into one domain. That was a nightmare. But the first 2 years of that, we were just cussing each other out and arguing and fighting and blah, blah, blah. It's a global team. And one guy said, all right, enough of this crap. He got with upper management and said, you need to fly all of us to San Jose and basically have a party for a week. And they're like, what? And he goes, here's why. Anyway, he got it passed. We all met in San Jose. Then it wasn't a number, it wasn't a voice on a phone, it was a person, right? Yeah. And you got to know him. And it was the craziest thing that following Monday because we used to have to fight over defending our territories or what work we were going to take on versus what work somebody else was going to do based on some criteria. But then after that meeting, everything changed. It probably would have been 10 years before I got it. Who knows? But it wasn't like, oh, so-and-so on the phone. It was Joe. Oh, Joe, you know what? I'll take that on, man. Jim, you know what? I'll take that on or whatever. You know what I mean? So it was fantastic. So I agree with you. I'm hoping that that's how this goes.
Yeah, it's the same with any industry events or anything else. It gives you a new sense of what to do and work with and camaraderie between everything. That's why I love those type of events. I've done those forever.
It's great, but the problem you have in that space is some of the younger folks, right? If you're in your 20s, they don't have that muscle. They don't, and it might be good, might be bad. So a lot of people in those, I'm trying not to jump on the grenade here or judge or whatever, but in general, just my findings, just from my limited interaction with people and hiring and co-living and whatever, they lack some of that communication skills, right? They don't have it, or they don't even know what it is. And so that will be interesting to try to tackle with some of the younger demographic if that's what happens. So we'll see how it goes. But I agree with you. Yeah, in the late 20s, 30s, those folks have communication skills, and maybe that can foster and grow. And who knows, maybe if I get the 30s in there and I do have some 20s in there, maybe the 30s can help out the 20s with that communication. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen what was his name? There's a couple of people out there that do this, a generational um, communication, because all those generations have to communicate. And I've been to a couple seminars of that, and it is really helpful because
Really?
yeah, running businesses, even with what you're doing,
Oh yeah, yeah.
going to those what if I figure it out, I'll put it in the group chat. I gotta remember his name. But it helps a ton because I've got the same thing. I have four different generations in my company.
Yeah.
I have to communicate with them all differently. One of them doesn't use computers or email at all, so it's text only.
Is
And
that
then the other
older?
ones, yeah, he's older. Yeah.
Just a guess.
So, but and that's what you have to deal with those demographics, and you have to talk to each of the individuals differently. They don't respond unless you learn that trick.
Man, we've covered the gamut already. We're only
Yeah.
what, an hour in. This is fantastic.
Yeah, and hopefully somebody, other people jump in because I'll just keep
Yeah.
talking unless somebody tells me not to.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm going to mute and I'm going to let the group go where it wants to go.
Well, actually, Jared, I have a question for you. I was I was talking with a pet split guy earlier, and then he recommends me to put a TV in each room just to kind of, make everybody kind of stay in their room more than just, going in the hallway, trying to strike up a conversation and things like that. What's your thought on this?
I mean, the TVs are so cheap. If you want to do it, go for it. I don't have an opinion one way or another. I know a lot of people put fridges in rooms too. For me, I don't do that because of power and bugs, and another thing to maintain. I know a lot of people that do that as well. But the TV thing, I don't know, man. I guess sure, it's a little bit more expense. And as far as congregating, I don't know that would. I mean, I guess it would. Yeah, sorry, I'm not really answering this very well, but I think I would do a pilot and test it out and see what happens. But I don't think it could hurt. A little bit more
Mm,
expense. I don't know if that would be the sole reason to keep somebody in their room. A lot of people have laptops, and like I pay for all the wire, I pay for all the internet, and so I use a particular vendor, and every new device that comes on gets registered and it shows up. Most people have like three devices, man. It's crazy. They'll have a phone, a laptop, and then either some kind of smart device like a TV or some other smart thing. So, and that's another thing too. If you're doing this, planning for internet bandwidth, I always go to the second tier. The first tier, I've found can at certain times in the evenings get bottled down. And if you're worried about that, because you're covering utilities, some people deal with it because they're like, well, I'm not paying for it. And some people are like, hey, man, the internet's slow. And I put repeaters in the house too, because the houses I'm doing are pretty big. That way I get better coverage. And it's also for personal reasons too, or investor reasons. I need like the doorbell, the front doorbell ring. It needs to make sure it has a really good connection and some other device, all the locks that I use that they need to have that really good internet connection. So there's another reason other than just the people's usage. But yeah, I don't know how to answer that, man. I guess pilot it and see what happens, or talk to other hosts that do it and see what they. I don't do it, so I can't really tell you.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm getting the second tier internet as well, and my kids are already complaining the internet over there is better than our house. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Hey, I saw Matesh join. Hey, Matesh.
Hey there. I'm
We're
kind of
touching.
dead in the water with my properties there. Like I'm waiting on the HVAC guy to install. And it's been many months.
Oh,
It's been cold in Detroit. Like really frustrating.
all right. I'm gonna try
And
this. I'm gonna go on mute and see where the group takes it.
then I got two evictions coming up.
All right, man. You got to talk about that. That's a pretty big bomb you just dropped there.
So my commercial property, the guy really only paid like a couple months, and then he decided to stop paying. But I think I need to be quicker in terms of, going through the whole procedure, starting off with the letter. Seems like we're kind of like holding off on that quite a bit. So the process is taking longer than it should. So I think I've been told the court date is later in this month. So hopefully 30 days he's gone. But apparently the lease is in his name plus the business name, so I should get some recovery based off of that, which he's kind of out like 4 months already in rent. Plus, what happened is I put I did like a landlord account with the DTE, the electrical and the gas company. So it's a landlord account. So the guy, he turned it off. I mean, he got it out of his name for about a month, and then he put it on a different company name, which is we're fighting that too because he's not supposed to have another company. So, anyways, for about a month, I paid the bill. So I learned to I can have the landlord account, but I can have it shut off when anytime the guy, changes or disconnects. So that's something to be aware of. So yeah, things are proceeding. He also is responsible for the triple net, which I can't get that money. I can only get rent during the lawsuit. I have to have a separate lawsuit for the triple net for the taxes and insurance. Residential is about 4 months late there too. So that one's gonna take longer since it's residential.
Are you self-managing all these, or do you have property management?
I mean, I have a property manager, but he's over here in California. And I don't know. It's hard for me to trust anyone else. It's better to just have somebody that's inefficient rather than having somebody fraudulent. So I'm kind of just dealing with slowness with this guy and just the whole area. It's kind of weird how people just stop paying. It's really weird. But I'm making sure to put their non-payments into their credit report. So that kind
Was there
of
any red flags when they signed on in terms of like their income to rent or anything like that, or that
they,
you were?
they both have good income. Both of them have income. The commercial guy, he stopped paying like after a couple months. So he's all about fraud. Now the residential people, they were paying for about a year and a half on time. And then I don't know, things just start going down after a year and a half, it seems, with all these renters really. So she got into an accident, the wife did, and but before then she lost her job or something like that, or she was injured or something like that. It's just like it's all downhill, and then they stop paying, and then they kind of make up like $300 payment here, 300 there to make up their previous months. It's really strange. But it's only a $1,300 rent payment, so I mean I don't understand like
Yeah,
how people
coming from California, that's like a week's worth of rent.
Well, this is Detroit too, and the rents are not that much. I mean, the difference between 800 and 1,300 is not much, at least to me. Especially considering they're making, I mean, each of them is making like 60 to 80,000 each per year. So I don't know. It's just they live it up. So yeah. So I'm working on 2 evictions. Really frustrating. The one in Monroe, I had to do a septic tank removal of the the dump, extract the load, and then also the seems like every 5 years the pump goes out, the motor goes out on it, so that's about a $3,000 payment there.
3,000
So
for the motor, or
I think yeah, for the motor, and then I think it's like a few hundred to get it, pump it out. It's about And so I would say almost 4,000. Seems like I gotta pay that every 5 years.
Damn.
I'm probably gonna start charging 25 to 50 a month just for septic because they're not paying the city fees on that. So probably start doing that. But even with the 3,000 every 5 years, it's 4,000 every 5 years. I'm not that worried about it. So yeah, it's just a lot of this year's not been good. Uh, Not sure why, but that's what it is.
Economic decline feels like.
Yeah, mine's just off the cliff.
I don't know if you guys watch George Gammon's channel. I know Ryan does. I think Ryan's a moderator for him, but Josh, the kid that's helping support him, he travels a bit, and he was talking about how over the last 5 years or so, he's seen the decline in different cities, like shopping malls where there's businesses just not there, and places getting run down. I see it in Portland, but I don't. I go to Portland and Arizona. That's about it. Arizona definitely declined in certain areas. So I don't know,
Mhm.
man. Things are getting rough out there.
Yeah, I feel like Portland, I've seen some like YouTube videos of just kind of their government policy and how it's impacted the area. So, you know,
It's
it's
bad. Although they're starting to realize they really screwed up, and so there some things are like the drug thing where they just basically legalized drugs. That was a mistake. I mean, just killed the downtown market. So that it matters to them when the taxes get hit, right? So when the drugs are prevalent downtown Portland and other cities or whatever, and then people don't go there anymore, so the businesses around there shut down, and then the people that are working in those businesses and those big high rises are now working from home. Guess what? Those businesses start to implode and decline. Therefore, the taxes decline, and that's when they start to care about it. Took them 5 years to figure it out.
yeah. I mean, the
What are
stock market was crazy down this week. I'm sure people here that have retirement accounts saw that one.
Oh yeah. I'm so glad I pulled everything out a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I watch Ed Dowd, and he's saying because of that, Doge and the government spending being less, that's just gonna people are gonna have less money because of that, and then that's just gonna be a slower economy. So that just translates into uh, a lower stock market and everything else, even real estate, and also with the illegal immigrants going back, that's also takes a hit on real
Yeah.
estate, um, and then it's just gonna be but the good news is the interest rates go down too when the economy slows down. So we're gonna have a short term uh, decline in both interest rates and the economy. But then I think the he's saying that Trump is going to pump up, start spending again, and it's just going to create more debt and deficits. But it'll create the inflation and work again. So it's going to be a down and up is the prediction. The down I can definitely see, which would be nice. I don't really care about the up part. I care more about the down part, which really I can afford things, which
Yeah.
would be good.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Ed Dow's a former hedge fund manager. I don't know if he still does. I think he still does actually, but I know he was big in a couple of the bigger companies. And now he came out and called the recession. But I like how transparent he was because it didn't quote unquote happen. Even though I think it's not a quote unquote technical recession. But when you're flat for this long, I'm sorry, it's still a recession. I don't care how you label it. But he came out and made that call, and I like how transparent he was. He came back and he said, "Look, our models were dead on. Something's wrong." So they went back and reanalyzed and came out and was very transparent about it. I thought that was pretty cool of him to do that.
And then they found like 345 billion as a slush fund for the Democrats and their NGOs and all that kind of stuff.
I would argue to say that would be for the politicians, not necessarily just for the Democrats, right and left. Those.
Yeah, but they hand out the money, so they get the support through handing out that money. It's just like I was at the county here during COVID, 2020, 2021, 2022, and they're just passing all these programs, these COVID programs that get funded through the federal government. Well, what happens is the county they fund these and then they get the reimbursement. But it's like to me, it's like, why are you? I mean, the politicians act like they make something off of it. They get a portion of it. I mean, that's how they act. Um, but you know, when you look at it, it's like it's not all of it is good, and it's dirty money, and you're just really passing off the money to corrupt hands, really, which is not really good for society. Um, so, but they act like they make a poor, and it turns out one of them did. One of them did get caught. One of them, the daughters had like a nonprofit that was serving like a Meals on Wheels type of thing, and turns out that they didn't do that many meals, and they just collected the money, and then she bought a house with the money.
Oh yeah.
So so yeah, so you know these politicians they are involved with the money, because you can tell like they're like really involved with you know approving these budgets
Wait,
and
are you
these
saying that somebody
programs.
that makes 200,000 a year starting off, and then all of a sudden they're a multimillionaire? There's something weird with that.
But even if they don't, it's like they are somehow they're benefiting from it, or their families benefiting from
Oh
it.
yeah. That
So it's not just them. It's like 10x other people too that they're connected with.
Yep.
So um, yeah, it's just all this now. This Doge stuff's coming out with all this, this funny money. And uh, my question is like, how you have these trillions of dollars as a budget for the government. My question to everyone is like, how much of that did you get? Like, how much did that ended up in your bank account? Like, probably close to zero, right?
Well, that's why you see, you know, people getting elected that you wouldn't have. Yeah, I mean, things are changing. People are pissed off. Poverty. I think I heard the other day that Americans, I think 11% of people, probably higher than that, are living in poverty in the US. It's crazy.
And you see these people protesting the Tesla, the Tesla dealership, not a dealership, but locations. Um, it's really funny because it's like, oh, okay, you're the guys that are uh, the receiving end of this all this money, all this funny money.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the
Elon
Democrats,
Musk. Yeah.
they have to pay their the Democrats have to pay their celebrities to show up, and it's like millions of dollars. And then you hear the fundraiser for the Democrat going, this is not what we collected the money for.
Yeah, it's funny. This started like what 100 plus years ago. They said, "Oh, the power elites, the Rockefellers and whatnot." I wasn't there, obviously, so I'm not that old. But the story goes they were talking about how do they control, and been going on longer than that. But they said just control the school systems, right? And they said, "Oh, it'll take 100 years." And I think one of the Rockefellers said, "No, well, it'll take one generation," and it did. So you keep people smart enough to do the labor, but dumb enough not to look into the finances. Which, by the way, I was in that camp for 49 of my 50 years, and just went to work and did my thing and thought anyway, so they did it. Well, it's starting to change now. So
I don't know. There's way too many normies and NPCs out there to really understand the whole thing, right?
I love that NPCs. So for people that don't game, non-playing characters, is that what it stands for?
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's like these people they want you to be think within the box, like or think within the lines. It's like a coloring book. Like you have to like stay within the lines for them not to be upset with you.
Right, like the Fed. Like there's so much emphasis put on what the Fed does and says, and all this communication and stuff, and it's like it's a control thing, right? It's like if you just we're gonna go down a rabbit hole, and I don't want to do
So,
it, but there's a lot of
so,
things like that.
sorry, I have to interrupt because Mateshi just stole my favorite. You just stole. I love that you said that using the word NPC. It's I use it in a different context. I like to try to tell people about how you shouldn't care about what I usually use in the context of is you shouldn't care about how many around 8 billion NPCs in the world think about what you're doing. You you know you should probably you might care about like the couple hundred that you actually know, but like or is it like I put it? I know like a couple hundred people in the world. The rest are NPCs.
Yeah, it's very dangerous because if you don't understand them, it's very dangerous for you in terms of your emotions because you're expecting the other person to be honest and be able to understand what you're saying, all the intricacies and the challenges and the difficulties, right? So, but it just turns out that it's actually there's more normies than NPCs, and normies are like people that want to stay in the mainstream, right? So these are the people that gobble up the news. Um, and so to them, I don't think they have that portion of the brain that's um, inquisitive, curious, speculative, involves analysis. They don't have that portion of the brain. So when you're like arguing with them and you get upset with them, you're assuming that they have that capability, but they don't. I think they're just born that way. And I don't think it's their fault. I've come to the conclusion it's not their
Yeah,
fault.
sure. Yeah, there is that. I was just saying, like, I, you know, I use it in the context of like, how many people do you really know out in the world, or like actually, are invested in like you or your success, or like, how, how many people would actually like even care slightly a bit you if you died tomorrow? What I was basically
Very
getting
few.
at
Very
was
few.
that
I'd say like
yeah
1%.
yeah what I was basically what I say to that is, and what I tell people is basically like, yeah, I don't. I use that to show people. I use that saying to tell people why they should really just ignore what the general masses of society think about you for the most part, and just do your
But see,
thing.
we're not taught that. We're not like we learn it over time, but it's like we're not taught that from the very beginning. So it's a big frustrating process
You're right.
for somebody like me to
We're talk.
understand these people. Like they don't have the capability, so it's just like you're wasting your time. It's like all these you hear about all these people they're complaining about inequality, when it comes to gender or race, but the real issue is not that. The real issue is class inequality. So everybody gets affected by class inequality, um, which is far more sinister than race or gender inequality. But so when you start talking like that, people just don't want to listen to it, and they're not capable of it. Um, so so they're stuck in that, the woke stuff with the gender and the race. But the other thing is like, people are complaining about like rent, and the issue is with rent is uh, uh very few people hold rental properties in California. So like one person would have like hundreds or thousands of rental properties. And my thing is like, okay, should a single family home, would it do better with a family living in it that owns it? Because that's the American dream. Um, so it's like, okay, we should have laws where the family gets first dibs on the house, not an investor, right? And that's what these loans are for, FHA, et cetera. Um, but also the affordability is also key. So I'm all like, okay, well, there should maybe be a law that you can only, if you're an individual, uh, you can only own so many single family homes, like regulated, so that people have a chance to own a home and the American dream. And then I hear crickets because people want to be on that ladder.
I disconnect. I don't agree with that concept. More of our problem is with the jurisdictions not allowing building. There is so much property around this country, and the jurisdictions are making it so difficult to build. We would have plenty of housing if they would release those
Yeah,
problems.
I understand that this is not like a solution. the only solution I'm proposing. It's more about like thinking about it and just debating it, and then people don't even want to like think about it.
Yeah, I don't want government involved in anything more. They've already screwed up everything as it is. They're just if you
Well,
get them more
that's the
into
problem. That's all this what we're seeing is because of government involvement. Now,
yes,
if you notice, like there's something going on in Northern California or Central Northern California where they took over. The government goes after these farmers with lawsuits, and they can't pay the lawsuits, so they settle with the government. So government took over all these grazing lands near the coast up there.
you know
So
how much acreage there is that you can only put one house on in California? It's unreal. And you can only put one house on it. Now you can put one ADU, but that's it on a 5-acre parcel. There's so many requirements and BS restrictions on zoning. It is just crazy in California. And
yeah, because
they don't like business here at all.
well, the other thing I noticed is like in St. Paul, I learned that the what do you want to call it? The workers, the people in the process, the building department, whether it's the inspector or etc., they get a portion of the permits. Like they make money off the permits themselves.
I've
They get
never
a
heard that
portion of the
one.
permit payment, which is ridiculous. It should just be your salary. That's it. Like so that just creates corruption.
Well, one thing a lot of people don't realize is jurisdictions have zero liability. It's all on the contractors and engineers. It's not on the building department. They're just processing it through and going with the codes that are put in, but they don't have any liability.
I've seen lawsuits against cities when they
Yeah,
approve.
they do that, but it still goes back. It's a
Yeah, it's all
pass.
the rich people, like in the rich areas, they they lose their house to some Mother Nature, but then they'll go after the city for allowing a house to be there.
Yes,
I've
correct.
seen that.
Which is why they put so many restrictions on because of lawsuits. At least that's what I've run into.
Do you think it's because of that, or they can just collect more money?
Oh, in my opinion, permits is all about collecting money and keeping
Yeah,
jobs. That's all
yeah,
it is. It's about the unions. That's my opinion.
yeah.
Because
That's what.
they could easily, just like they're trying to do now, make government more uh, productive. There are so many people that don't do anything. It's ridiculous. It's just like DMV in California. And there's so many people that don't even belong there. They don't know what they're doing. It should be a much easier process, especially with internet now. There's no reason for a lot of the stuff that they have to do. And there's no reason that a permit should take 18 months to get for a new construction. None.
Well, they're creating a short supply based on
Yes,
that
correct.
process.
Yep.
It's
Well, and
all it's all
that's
it's
actually been
actually.
brought up.
I think it's all thought out. I don't think it's all by accident.
I don't disagree with you. I think you are very correct. There's been some stuff like that brought up. They don't want that building to go too fast.
And then the other funny thing is like you see these projects by the government, they will excuse themselves from environmental laws. Like
Yep.
they'll excuse themselves from their own laws. It's like
Yes,
that
correct.
shouldn't be allowed. Like they should be
Do as I say, not
following
as I
their laws.
do. Yeah. All
It's
righty.
very funny you brought that up because I was just thinking about a couple years back where they're proposing a school on near a wetland that they've allowed no one to build near that wetland because you can't build near a wetland, but then all of a sudden the city wants a new school. Well, they can build on a wetland.
See, that should be illegal. They need to abide by their own laws, all of them, all the laws.
I know a guy who fought the city on that. He was told he had all this land that was right next to this lake. It was a man-made lake, but they said he couldn't build on it because it was wetland. He's like, okay. So he planted, there's a tree with these little curly Q things on there, and it was a tax break. And so he planted all these trees and filled the whole wetland with it and got a huge tax break. Pissed off the city something fierce. He was playing their own game, and then he was able to build. And then on top of that, after he built all these houses on there, he labeled all the streets his name, right? It was anyway. I watched it play out. It was awesome over the
Was
last
this in
15 years.
Florida?
No, this is in Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think something similar happened in Florida too.
Yeah. It's awesome to watch people like, all right, you want to play that game? We can play that game. People that give up and go, oh, I guess I can't build there. Those are whatever. But the people are like, all right, you know what? You want to mess around? What is it, FAFO?
Yeah, I originally started this wanting to do glamping, but it took me 4 months to go through all the zonings and stuff and find out there's no way in hell I'm doing this in California. Because just to be able to do it will cost me $50,000 plus I have to purchase the land, get on the conditional use permit, and still get told no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with these, Pacific Palisades and all these homes that need to be rebuilt. Um, I don't see how people are going to be successful in doing that unless,
Oh no, because they all go under new taxes, new insurances, new building codes. And all of those none of those were fire sprinklered. Every one of them has to be fire sprinklered. Every one of them has to have solar. It's going to be extreme to rebuild all that stuff.
well, one thing, there's not going to be enough labor. Like if
No,
everybody
you are
builds,
very
starts
correct.
building all at once, there's not enough labor to work on that.
Yep.
And secondly, I don't think people understand like these homeowners that lost it. These are just like simple people. They don't understand like the building process and what it's going to take. So they're holding on to the land thinking they can rebuild, but they'd just be better off just selling it and moving.
Yeah. And a lot of them will.
Well, eventually, but I think you'll see a decline in the value of their property once everybody starts selling it.
I disagree with that. There's not enough property in those areas. I don't think it'll decline at all.
Um,
Especially some of those areas. Those are multi-million dollar home areas. Those people will still buy there and build there. Absolutely.
I mean, I don't think it'll go down that much, maybe 10-20%, but there will be a decline because you're going to start seeing like a supply problem. I mean, a greater supply of listings, but also the people that are buying them, they're not going to spend, they know what it's going to take to build it. So
Yeah.
The value of their land is not, it may come down just because of that. So
Yeah, in California, no, I don't see that. That's one thing with California. It's all about the land. The building costs the same to build anywhere across the country. The land is what's the difference in California. Because you buy the same appliance here and in Gary, Indiana, the same cost.
But the labor is different. The cost of labor is different, right?
Exactly, correct. Cost of labor is different, but most
and the
of it's
permit. So the people on the coast, all the way next to the water, they're all on septic tanks. So those will all have to be replaced. Plus, they're going to have to put a wall in.
well, they will more than likely do infrastructure to put that all on county sewer and water. Majority of that will probably, I'm not positive, but it probably will. I was just in Maui, and Lahaina is going to be the same thing. And that property will definitely get built up, but it's going to take 10 years.
I was there the week, and then I left, and then the next day that fire happened. So,
oh wow,
yeah, it was crazy, man. My son, we'd never bought certain things from there, trinkets and all that, but this time we're like, all right, let's do it. Now we're glad we did because everything burned down.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were there right there before that.
I've never been there. What's amazing is it just looks like raw area. It's nothing. You can't see anything burned. They cleaned it all up. So it looks like lots. So if you've never been there and nobody ever told you there was a fire, you really wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's too bad. There was a lot of tradition, a lot of restaurants, and my wife and I would go there a lot. We wouldn't stay there. We'd stay like we didn't stay in YLA because it's too expensive, but we'd stay in the the one right south of that, the main town, the surf town, whatever it was, or the one up north, but it's in the middle. So we would go there a lot, and it sucks. At least the tree survived, the big whatever
Yeah.
that stretch. I forget what they call it. So there's some things that are there, but man, all those businesses and things that just sort of made it Lahaina. I don't know if you're ever gonna get that back
You're not,
because
because
it's all
it's
going to be new and it's going to be all
exactly
modern and all that crap. You miss the character of it.
right. Hopefully they'll design it so it's according to that. But and then Maui's going to be just like California. They have certain codes and rules to build, though it's going to be a lot different.
Yeah.
Just for that. I mean, cause I was in a couple of those buildings, scuba diving when I was there. Some of the building I was in, the same age as those Lahaina ones that burnt down. That thing needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
It's just the floors are falling apart. So most of those houses in Lahaina were extremely old. They needed updating, I'm sure. But hopefully, too bad it happened the way it happened.
It's crazy because the last several years, like people that have jobs were living on the beach in their cars because
Yeah.
they couldn't afford housing locally. And a lot of that, some of that's the investors coming in and buying. So I don't know, man. It's kind of weird how that fire just sort of happened, right? And
Yeah.
now you've got this beachfront property available, and it just kind of makes you wonder, like, did that fire, was it natural? Was it not? I don't know. Just in my mind.
How did it start? I've heard power lines, but I'm like, there's not enough grass there that they shouldn't have been able to pull it out unless their fire departments are just that horrible there. I don't know. We have to talk to Mark on
Well,
that.
it's all Democrat uh, government there, so like no one really does anything. Like no one's accountable.
Yeah, the electrical infrastructure was freaking bad. I mean, there's shit hanging down, and I mean, it was bad, but I don't know. Just kind of interesting how all of a sudden there's multiple fires along that coastline. I think Kihei was the town I think I was trying to think of before, had a little fire there, or a big fire. I don't remember what it was. The big one you hear about is Lahaina,
Right.
but it was all at the same time. So it's like, really? Did that all happen at the same time? It's kind of weird. I don't know. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but it's just kind of interesting that now there's beachfront property available to be built on.
Yeah, but I think Maui's going to be, in fact, they're in the process of really changing out as short-term rental rules.
Hmm.
So, 'cause I stayed in the Verbo in Malaya, like you were talking about, and they're going to be changing all of that. They're going to limit on who can buy and who can do what, for sure. And it's amazing how all the resorts didn't get touched.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they already banned short-term rentals in Oahu. That was a huge business on Oahu, and
Yeah.
that really screwed probably a lot of real estate investors that bought there for short-term rental purposes.
Absolutely. I think that's more of the resorts and the hotels that push that stuff through than anything else. Because you can't tell me that the percentage of short-term rentals is really impacting housing that much. Because once again, there's a lot of land there. They're just choosing not to let people build on it. At least in Maui. I haven't been to Oahu in a couple of years. But there's a lot of land in Maui that could be buildable. And they're just not allowing it to be done. And I understand you want to keep the character, but at some point you have to keep character and keep people housed at the same time. And one thing I didn't really see a lot of is like multifamily stuff in on Maui when I was there. They're starting to build a couple new ones, but I didn't see a lot of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I mean, they're trying to keep the character of the island, having huge 300 unit apartment complexes would definitely change the
Yeah, but
vibe.
you can put those in certain places and still keep the character and then make it so people can afford to live.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not writing the rules, but
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious, how do you guys use the ORAT website? Because I see the message board, I see that it's like mostly people introducing themselves, and there's occasional posts, mostly by Jared in terms of like what investments they're working on. I'm just curious, I know there's some videos and there's a community. I'm just curious, how is everyone kind of leveraging website?
I use it by keywords. So if I have a property in a certain city or state, I look that up and then see if there's other investors in the area, and then hopefully they have boots on the ground I can use.
I see.
Don't sleep on the Skool stuff too, man. Like if you go in there, Jason Pritchard has a big deal. Ty has one on creative finance. There's a lot of stuff in that training in the classroom section that
Yeah.
maybe people don't realize is there. I'm slowly working my way through some of that, and man, some of that's. I'm also with Zuber. I think Pritchard's a badass and networking. So just so you know, Josh, I've met you guys know Henry Washington from Bigger Pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I met him in one of those one-on-one sessions. The next thing you know, we're chatting, and I've got his cell phone number. We're going back and forth and talking about different things. And so there's a lot of value that comes out of that you may not realize, depending on how far you're taking it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to Jason Pritchard's event in April. It's in
Cool.
Fresno. It's funny on their website, the Deal Champs website. Zuber's pictures up there with his purple hair, and I just saw that on a video a couple days ago.
I saw it was Jason, and I know this isn't the person. I want to say Jamil Damji, but it wasn't him. It was two other guys walking down like a hallway, and all
Yeah.
they had the Deal Champs.
Yep.
I'm sure they're bigwigs, but I don't know who they are.
I don't know who they are. Chris Morby's the first guy, as I know he's there, and then Zuber's speaking. I don't know most of the other people.
Yeah. Yeah, pace is. We were touching on this earlier about the U.S. society at large and people and whatnot. And a lot of people, you're either a doer or a taker in a way, right? You either sponge off the system or you contribute to the system.
What do you think the percentage is?
That's a good question. It probably in the last 4 years higher than it's ever been. But pace is that's what I've mentioned this before, but there's an underlying current here to some of these guys, like the Ken McElroys, and even the pace is smaller than those bigger boys like Grant Cardone and all those guys. You got to rise up if you want to fight the elites, otherwise you're going to be under their thumb. And so I think there's that sort of underlying current to all of this, pace for sure. And he doesn't say it that way, but he's dragging people in his community kicking and screaming that are to the point where they paid the money to get in, but they're too lazy to do anything about it. He's reaching down, trying to grab those guys and say, hey man, get off your ass and get your shit together and start earning for yourself, because all of us need to come together and do it. And I'm paraphrasing there, and it's probably a little too aggressive, but that's kind of the way I see it. And he even told me, because I came and talked to him and I said, look, I feel like the system is rigged. And he goes, I used to think that way, but I talked to all these people, and all this thing is, people will be lazy if you let them be, right? People are, inherently can be lazy. So you need to do something about that and, get enough gumption to grow people. So that's kind of what he's doing underneath the surface. And that's totally my take. I could be completely wrong, but that's the way I see it.
So there's this guy who's a former trader, Gary Stevenson from the UK, and he talks about inequality and how to, how the rich and the billionaires, they fix the system so that they get rich at the behest of the middle and the lower classes. So he talks about it. It's very good stuff, and how to fight back. You learn about all that. Gary Stevenson.
We're all doing it right now. All of us here. The fact that we're here, we're fighting back, trying to grow our personal wealth, I think.
Yeah, but it's a very few people really doing it.
Yeah, relative to the population, but it's got to start somewhere, right?
I think a lot of people, they just want to get on the gravy train, whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
How are you holding your properties, LLC or individual?
Who, Mitesh or me?
Oh, you. Well, both of you.
Both. I've got the personal properties are in my name, and then the investment properties are in all
Okay.
I'm
Mainly
all S
because
corp.
what's that?
Mine are all under S corp.
Oh,
you're S corp. Okay.
Interesting. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I heard somewhere that California charges a percentage of the LLC income. I'm like,
Well, if you
that's
have an
not gonna
LLC,
happen.
if you have an LLC in California, I think there's a rent cap. But if you don't, if you're in personal property, it doesn't apply to you. So that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you notice a difference in your property taxes, whether it's personal or on corporate? Does it?
That
No.
shouldn't matter.
No, I haven't.
It seems like like Detroit, one of the properties I have it's still like registered, at least on the tax roll, it's still under the previous owner's name. And so I noticed they like the tax rate didn't go up as high if it's like a personal name versus a corporate name.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, because they don't want to piss off the residents.
Yeah, that might be over time. I'm too new, so maybe I don't know. Maybe I haven't experienced that yet. I'm only a year and some change in, so maybe I'll see that next time they do the evaluation on the properties. Who knows?
Well, I know you get reassessed when you do work to it. New purchase and then work getting done to it will reassess it, at least in California. I don't know about other places.
Good thing is you can fight that. My wife got pissed off here locally at our primary residence, and our we went from 8,300 to 14,700 in property taxes in 1 year, like this assessed value. And so she fought it for 9 months, and we just got a check for a couple, 2, 3 grand, and then now our property taxes are back the way they were because they couldn't tell us. There was also a bond in there, but they couldn't tell us like where those taxes were going, what the bond was for, nothing. And so she went ape shit and, and just was pissed, man, because our payment went up like $400 a month or something like that. And I was like, this
Maybe
is absolutely ridiculous.
maybe your wife can help me. My court my the one in Detroit that I had, we went from like 2,000 to like 4,000 as soon as I bought it
Wow. Yeah.
for a
Hey,
year.
Mitesh, curious on why you put the properties in an S corp.
I think it's just for like I think it's for like lawsuits. It's easier to get in front of the judge if it's under S corp,
Okay.
under corporation. Yeah.
So did you like hire, did you just come up with that yourself or did you like hire,
I've had I got IT.
sorry, you broke up.
Hey, Mitesh, we lost your audio.
Josh, while we're waiting, what do you recommend?
I mean, I don't know. There's so many different
Yeah.
situations.
Sorry, I got disconnected. um so I've had an IT business for a long while, so I'm using that S corp. I've had it over 10 years.
Oh, so you're putting everything in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to pay California $800 every year on that S corp.
Yeah. So you just broke it up that way. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, but I save a lot of money on the taxes too, on the other end. So it works
so
out
you,
well.
you pay yourself a salary then out of the S corp?
I'm supposed to do quarterly, but I don't. I just do it at the end of the year.
Gotcha.
And then with all the deductions and everything, it like I barely pay any taxes on my stuff.
You have employees, Mitesh?
Just me.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
very simple. I don't I don't I don't work with anyone else.
Yeah. So one thing is if you own it in the S corp, you don't get a step up in basis when you die.
Well, I don't care when I die.
Yeah.
That's
And
someone else's problem.
yeah, I mean that's one situation. The other is just capital gains and things like that within an S corp.
So what do you mean by step up?
So essentially, if you own property personally and you die, this is like a huge benefit for real estate investors because let's say you have a spouse and you die and you own 20 rental properties, or let's just say one rental property and you bought it for 100K 20 years ago. When one spouse dies, you get an adjustment upwards in the fair to your basis would be the fair market value at the date of death, and then you restart depreciation. So it's a huge benefit because you wouldn't have any kind of taxable event in terms of gains, and you get to start redepreciating it at a much
Yeah.
higher
To drive that
rate.
home, that just let's say that $100,000 house now, let's say died tomorrow. Let's say that $100,000 house was $1 million. You don't have to pay that 900K in depreciation. You just start from the million, right? That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
you start from the million and you get to start depreciating it again. So it's like huge benefit to your family.
Yeah, I don't really care about depreciation because you got to pay it at the end anyways when you sell the house.
Well, no,
Um,
you wouldn't because you'd get a whole step up. So depreciation gets
Yeah.
wiped clean.
That's why they say 1031 and depreciate till you die, right?
Yeah.
That's what I plan on doing.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a huge benefit because like if your kids or your wife take it over, if they decide to sell it to like meet their living expenses, they won't have any taxable event really when they sell it. So,
Yeah, I almost guarantee that's what they'll do is because they don't want to deal with the management of it. So
yeah.
My plan was to do a holding company and then LLCs for out of state, and then do everything in a trust in California. Once I get to a certain dollar amount, I'm not nowhere near that.
Yeah.
man,
I
this
don't
has
want
been
to
a
get the
good one.
government any more than I have to.
It's really weird how the government takes over once you like die. It's like it's almost like it becomes their money.
No, not really. You have to set up trusts and things like that. So that's already if you don't have a trust or a will, then it gets distributed by state law. But if you actually do the planning, then it's pretty streamlined.
It's like planning on your death.
Yeah, it's a whole huge industry.
Oh, I put a question up on Skool. No one answered it. Like I'm looking for somebody to create the trust and will for me. I didn't get any responses on that.
Yeah. I would just find someone local that you trust that's an established firm that
But that's the thing is like, you don't know.
I would go on like next door in your neighborhood and just ask who's the recommended estate and trust provider in your local area. And that would be a good place.
Huh, that's an interesting way to I wouldn't have thought of that next door.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who can you trust? I mean, they might be using somebody that's not, that great.
I mean, anything's better than nothing. It's a start.
Yeah, you said earlier that your property manager is inefficient, but at least they're not
Crooked.
crooked, right? And I was like, wow, that's
Yeah.
an interesting way to look at it. Whereas I'm like, I can't handle an inefficient property manager. I'd use them and then fire them and go to somebody new if that was my case. But
Yeah, but I don't know anyone else.
yeah, well, that's where the networking comes in, man. Like, networking with other people and
Yeah, I've tried. I've tried. There's really no one on Skool that's doing Detroit.
expand your
That's it.
horizons. Look out. Hell, go on Facebook or other
I
things.
I'll hit Bigger Pockets next and see if
Yeah,
there's others out
Isn't
there.
Chester in Detroit?
yeah. He's new
Just
though,
one
and
property though.
he has one property and doing turnkey. But who's the guy that was at the ORAD event last year? Very articulate pastor kind of guy. Oh crap, forgot his name. He's in Detroit. He would probably know. Probably look him up.
Yeah, I don't. I think it was Detroit. It could have been somewhere else, but somebody was saying that the people in Detroit are not as free flowing for information. So I don't know who that was talking about that. Oh, Brian Adamson. But I don't
Oh,
think he was
that's the
talking.
guy. That's the guy. Brian Adamson. He's the one
Yeah,
that
Ryan just said that.
yeah. He lives in Florida, but he invests in Detroit, right?
Yeah, I actually know somebody that invested. I gotta give him a call. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Hey Mitesh,
He was spying in Detroit 10 years ago. I gotta
yeah,
call him.
Brian.
yeah, Mitesh, I'd reach out to Brian Adamson and get his take on who he'd use for trust.
I'll look him up on Skool.
Yeah. Hey, I got to step away for a minute. The whole family's leaving, and I don't know why. I'll be right back. You guys talk about whatever.
I gotta head out, guys.
Hey Ryan, what are you up to these days?
Well, I was working on contacting the California Secretary of State about my pop's old 501c3,
Uh-huh.
and I was researching how to get in contact with them. And in my research, I found something about you got to send them a letter. So I'm thinking what I did was I must have conflated that with like a handwritten, like typed out letter sent snail mail. And so I was doing that. and I was having trouble using AI trying to get an editable and printable version of something that AI was making for me. And so I wasn't really able to use the AI. It was more just like a thought experiment thing. So I just went and I typed it out. I just use my phone, I type it out, and I finally start printing out these versions. The font's too big, it's this, it's that. Finally, I get a version that's usable. I print it out and I'm ready to go. And I go and I look up the address, and in looking up the address, I see an email address right to the department that I need to email with all the information I need. It was super, super easy. It took me about 10 minutes after all that work.
Yeah,
So,
I used to deal with 501c3, 501c6 because I was on soccer boards for 18 years. And I haven't done it in years, but it can be a real pain to deal with that stuff.
yeah, and that was just my quick learning curve.
So is it still a valid 501c3?
No, it's since been terminated, but I want to get all the paperwork on it and see if I can just recreate it, just basically refile it.
Honestly, it's easier to start new.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, at least for the ones that we've dealt with, because I had to deal with taxes and everything else for the one that we had, and it was, oh man, it was a nightmare. You're more than likely better off because everything's changed anyway since that's been around. So it's all new stuff. And yeah, because I remember you were talking about doing some kind of a nonprofit. I remember you talking something about that. Yeah, is it the same thing or is it different?
It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a mirror image.
Okay. Yeah, the 501c3 people are not easy to deal with. I finally had to talk to accountants and have them deal with it all. It was so much work. Yeah, you think real estate's work? Wait you get into that and keep going through that stuff.
He did say that the way that he was operating was fairly simple, very low overhead, just a very simple operation, very few people.
Yeah,
So again, I'll be trying to mirror image that.
gotcha. Now, why are you going that route?
That will actually stabilize and increase my foundation to invest from. So my earned income, if you would.
Okay. So you'll be an employee of the 501c3?
Correct. Yeah, I'll be the director, but yeah, I'll be
Gotcha.
getting paid from it.
Gotcha. So go to that W-2 thing.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, but only for a calculated maybe 5 years or so.
Gotcha. But I'm assuming you'll still do stuff on the side besides that.
Fishing.
Fishing.
Yeah, I'll definitely still be fishing. Well, I shouldn't say definitely fishing. As far as Alaska goes, this may be my last year. I'm really, really contemplating this being the very last one. This is going to be my captain's last year, and I'm not buying the boat. I don't want that responsibility. I don't want the counterparty of the canneries up there.
Well, you're doing the whole Alaska thing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I go up there June and July for commercial fishing for sockeye salmon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the operations just it's everything's changing. The cannery that we were fishing for, Peter Pan Seafoods, they went into receivership. So they went into bankruptcy, went into receivership. While in receivership, they were leased out to another rival cannery. This rival cannery just absolutely raped these facilities of their resources. And what we did was we cast our lot with Peter Pan Seafoods. Those were our resources. That was our legacy cannery. And in doing so, we burnt our bridge with the rival cannery, which is Silver Bay Seafoods. They have a bad reputation anyways. They're just a terrible company. Nobody really likes them. So we may not even have a market, but yeah, we're going to go ahead and close out this year. I'm not buying the operation. I don't want it. What I do want to do is the burger barge, though. So I do want to continue going up there, but I want to sell burgers rather than catch fish.
The other meat.
Right. Which I think will be incredibly lucrative. It'll save time, and time is the most valuable commodity up there.
Right. Yeah, that work is tough.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it still will be. I'll still have funny hours to deal with. I'll still be working around the tides and everything, but I won't be pitching fish all the time.
So is that like a line that goes out, or is that all fishing pole?
It's a 900-foot gill net.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so we drift with it, and it catches a lot of fish. We bring it aboard in about maybe 10 feet at a time. We bring it over a stern roller, and the net basically hangs like a hammock, if you would. Sometimes it'll get a little twisted up and whatnot, but the fish will just be kind of hanging in the hammock, and yeah, a lot of them will just be hanging by their gills, like the gill net, is named. But then some of them will be they'll hit a mesh, and then they'll jump over the net, and then they'll hit another mesh, and they just get super entangled. We call those basket cases.
Gotcha.
And yeah, those can take a few seconds to get out. Very fun work, though. I absolutely loved it. I think this will be my 15th season, so
Wow.
yeah, 150% of the target that I wanted to get.
Yeah. That's one worry I have with real estate is like I have this goal and I think I'm going to hit it. But then my worry is my wife will mitigate this, but my worry is I want to keep going past the goal because I think it's fun and, making more money and all that. But my wife and family will be like, hey, you said you wanted to get to X. We want to go do Y. We'll see.
So, Jared, you said you signed up with Jen Stewart.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I understand it a little bit, but I don't understand it completely. They're just giving you phone numbers, or are they actually giving you deals?
They've got different tiers, and what I did is I signed up for the full meal deal, which is because I don't have the time. They're generating a list, and I can give you an update of how this last week's gone. And by the way, it's not good. It's actually it's not good, but they're working out the kinks, right? So English is a second language for some people, and they misunderstood some things, and so there was that. But it's only been a week. But yeah, the idea is they generate the list based on your buy box, and then they have that section, and you can do that and take it from there, or take that piece and then go to the next, which is the cold caller. The VA takes that list and cold calls for you and generates those warm leads, if you will. Now, this is where you can come in and shit the bed if you get those leads, which you probably will. And I expect I'll probably mess up some of the in the beginning, but then they get to the point where hey, it's a warm lead. You want to start negotiating. And then I haven't got there yet. So this is the idea. Then they bring you on, right? And so Jen will help you if you ask her to. I'm sure that's more money, but I've kind of been involved with this a little bit, but not so much. So I might screw this up. I mean, I have different exit strategies with some creative stuff, which I've never done, and bought conventionally. So yeah, that's the idea. Basically get it to your doorstep where it's a warm lead. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I like the idea of using a wholesaler, but I can't get on that whole thing a warm lead. That takes a lot of time.
Yeah, which is why I'm paying somebody else to do it. I have no time for that. I'm spending what 540. Actually, it was more than that. Oh, here's one that caught me off guard. It's 540 for that. But if you want non-HOA, it's another $80 because they have to pay for some software. So there's that. Okay. So that puts me up to what, 620. And then I had to pay for something. Oh, the batch leads, which was another $120. So it's more than what they stated in the video, but that's okay. And also I did a quick search. This is such a cheap ass move, but I did a quick search through Chat GPT, and instead of spending 120 on the batch lead, the dialer, I'm sorry, the dialer thing, the batch leads, batch dialer, whatever it is, I spent $55 because I found a promo code for like 60% off it. So I sent that to Jen saying, "Hey, here's what I found," and she said, "An investor after my own heart," that kind of thing. But so yeah, it's going to cost you say $700, let's say at first, and then after that, 540 a month, and I'm going to do it for a few months. And I fully, Matt had mentioned this. This isn't like you're paying for this and you're going to get a lead that's going to work in the first month. This is like a long-term thing.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it in parallel with my other stuff. Well, triple parallel because I'm also using AI to try to scrape and do some stuff too. So I'm taking three different approaches to get to the same goal, which is that next deal.
Hey, on your YouTube channel, have you ever done anything on how to use AI?
I haven't, but several people have asked me that, and I have a meeting with somebody to go over what I've done with it because it's like for me, and this is I'm looking for 2.5 bath or better. Well, because AI scrapes these websites, and Ryan, you probably seen this too. Oh, did Ryan drop? Oh, Ryan dropped.
Maybe drop, yeah.
Seen this too, where some uh pieces of the puzzle you might not be able to get. And I stumbled on one, which is that 2.5 bath. Because most of the returns I'm getting are 2 bath. Well, that doesn't do me any good, especially in Arizona, because I got concrete slab. And if I want to add another bathroom, which I'm going to have to do, then if I'm trying to hit, it's multifaceted. But let's say with the current strategy with conventional purchases, I have to have 2.5 or better. Well, the AI returns 2 bath. So what I've resulted in doing is saying, screw it, going to the 3 bath because it's too much of a hassle to try to get into that minutia. So I'm just saying, screw it, just give me the houses that are 3 bath and go from there. Because I can take a 2.5, turn it into a 3 bath for 6, 7, whatever, a few $1,000 and be golden. But the AI searches isn't cutting it for me.
So how did you learn to start using AI? I have zero experience.
I don't know. I Googled it, right? So how do I, and then I went there. This is like a little while ago, and then Chat GPT, and I'm using that one because Grok and some of the other ones, they don't scrape the web as well. Like they don't pull data. Like Grok is I know it's great and it's Elon Musk, hoorah for him, but it didn't work for me, put it that way. So for me, the Chat GPT, if you guys wanted to, I know there's only a few people on here. I can get on and share. I don't know if people wanted to do that,
I
but
would like it. I don't know about everybody else. So I don't know anything about it. I don't understand it.
how about we do a super high level? Robert, Lindsay, Mitesh, Wayne, you guys want to do that? And then we'll wrap it up or what?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm busy renovating right now.
Okay, let me share my screen out, Jim, and let's see how bad this is gonna go. here's our notes, right? So let me I'll show you the WhatsApp thing real quick. This is Jennifer's thing. So here's my setup. I've got the Geno data skipper. I know this is what you asked for, but here's all the communications. She does it all through WhatsApp. And then here's the this is the ORAC community. Here's the cold caller. Here's the guy that goes out and cold calls. So they generate the list, cold call does the calling, and here's how they communicate. Okay, so let's minimize that. Sorry, I had it up, so I figured I'd show it. Let's launch this and see how bad. So I have multiple profiles. So anyway, are you guys seeing my screen? Are you guys seeing my screen at all?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I have ChatGPT set as my default search engine. So I'm just going to say, actually, let me bring up my Word doc that I have. I have some of this stuff saved as a prompt. Bear with me. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for doing this. YouTube, Binzer. Well, I don't have it readily handled, so I'm just going to go ahead and. So for you, Jim, I'll do it like this. I'll go openai.com, right? And here's your interface to ChatGPT. It's openai.com. So for me, like whatever your buy box is, I'll start with very basic. I have a long prompt that does everything, but I'm going to start very basic. Find 2,000 square foot houses in let's say Chandler, Arizona. Oh, the key point I left out. Find 2,000 square foot houses for sale, let's say, in Chandler, Arizona, that are under market. And let me back up. 2,000 square foot houses for let's do this. No HOA, no pool, 3 bath. I could do the 2.5 to show you how it screws it up. 2.5 bath for sale in Chandler. I didn't spell it right. Chandler, Arizona, that under market. Let's just start with that, and we'll build off that. So it's going to give you a return. It's going to scrape these different sites. Oh, that's interesting. It didn't hit Zillow that time. Okay, so here's a dump, right? So here's some stuff that it's finding. You can tell it to do this and dump it into Excel for analyzing later or whatever. But this is the start of it, right? So you put in your prompt and it gives you some stuff, and you'll have to go and massage it and tweak it and blah blah blah. And what I do is this part right here, I save it, and then I should bring that up, and then that way you can reuse it over and over. And this is why I want to build an agent, because heaven forbid I paste this in every time I want to do it. I have an agent that goes out and does it for me, which I'm learning how to do that. But this is the basics right here. Boom, put in the prompt and gives you some data, and then you play with it over time. Like, oh, hey, that returned this. Sometimes it'll give you two, and it'll say, hey, which one do you prefer? Because some will give you more longer data, and some will give you different data, and you can choose that's your preference. But make no mistake, I mean, they're collecting data on you as well, right? That's
Oh,
why.
yeah.
And I'm not doing the free version anymore. I was doing that for a while, but I had to go ahead and pay the $20 a month because you'll hit that limit. If you do enough of this, you'll hit that daily limit and you can't do anymore. So that kind of sucks. So I figured for me it was worth the $20. So that's the high level of it. I mean, just right there. So I could, click on this guy and say, all right, let's see what this is, right? So you go here and start digging in to whatever. Actually, this is a pretty good. Well, no, it's a cul-de-sac, so it doesn't work for me. Yeah, and then you could take it further, right? You could, if you wanted to, you could say now this is where you can get in trouble a little bit, with plenty of parking. So this is kind of something that's going to be hard to do for this because how does it know parking wise, right? But let's plug it in anyway. And you'll have to keep track of your on the left-hand side over here. If you see, you can see it keeps track of, what you're doing today. Chandler Home Search, right? And it shows you all
how new is the data?
That's subjective. So it's going out and scraping from multiple sites. So it's as good as whatever its sources are. So, like for example, let's do this. This is
what do you think the sources are
it
these
tells you in the beginning, like right here. So you see sources. It's pulling right here on the right hand side. Redfin, Find, Analyze, and all these different things. It tells you what the sources are. But let's say you find a good source. Like me, I like city data. You could go and tell it, hey, find blah 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 blah, like crime and medium average. Like you could do this. Let's do give me data on 85233. Boom, and it's going to give you all kinds of stuff. So you can combine that prompt with this and then scale it down and put in all your filters. I recommend doing the filters as you go. It's like this, right? It says for this zip code, which is Gilbert, by the way, that's where I'm buying this house. So it gives you things like you're not going to get from Zillow. Like you can go to Zillow and set up your search box and get emails every day, right? But if you're looking for, especially if you're doing multiple markets, but you can put in all the different criteria you want and bam, put it all in one bucket and then dump that into a file if you want. And then my next step is to analyze that. I don't want to analyze by hand. I want to take all this crap and then have it analyze these undervalued deals, right? I don't want to spend all the time doing it. So I want to use AI to do my work for me over time. So
yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna have to start playing with that once I get out of these couple houses.
yeah, it's a pretty powerful.
When you say it's undervalued, what do you usually find? Is there a reason why they're undervalued?
So I let on this particular one, I did it for purposes of the demonstration, but I let it decide, right? You could do that. It's like if you guys are programmed, I know Robert's on here. He knows this probably if he's still here. Perl, right? It's a programming language. One of the first I know that it just sort of took liberties on what you were asking. It's like if you fed in it data, like if you get in the old days, you used to have to qualify or define your variables. Like this is a numeral, this is a number, this is text, blah blah blah. Perl just said, give it to me and I'll just guess at it. That's kind of what AI is doing here. But if you wanted to get very specific, you could say, hey, give me all properties for sale in this zip code that are listed under the medium average income, or 50K under, or percentage under, whatever your criteria is, you can do that. But just for the purposes I just said, go for it. Tell me what you think is undervalued.
When you do the research on these, what do you usually find?
You mean as far as, I usually find I don't have parking. So it doesn't work for me. Parking's one of those ones that, given that it has to go out and find stuff, like did it show, let's look at that last one that I gave. How does it know if it has plenty of parking? Does it have a driveway? Boom, it's got plenty of parking. So you'd probably have to define, hey, give me a house with like 5 spots, but it doesn't know that street parking is considered. You'd have to tell it, hey, street parking with, maybe 100 feet of, or corner lot, that would work. Like that's what I typically buy. Like you have to tell it what you're looking for.
What is the reason you usually find why they're undervalued?
Sorry, I missed the well, that can be all over the map. Like the one that's that I'm getting now is the lady moved, right? And she just it's undervalued because she put it on the market and then took it off and then put it back on. And I got it for a cheaper price because they want to sell it and they don't want to have that mortgage anymore. So I mean that's one. I had another one where, the guy it's hard to answer that because I've only bought 3 properties and this is my 4th one, so I'm not.
I would think that they're more damaged. than a
Yes.
typical house.
Yeah. So that last house I had to drop the contract on, I knew about the roof. Like it was listed. That's going to sound funny for some people, but I got the contract for 460. ARV on that property in Chandler was 550 north all day long. So buying into equity, great. But it was listed for 460 as a reason. It was actually an investor that owned it for 12 years and they didn't do a damn thing. Talk about a slumlord. They didn't fix jack and the whole house fell apart. Like, and it was still there. Like the bricks and sticks were good. Well, so I thought, but it needed a roof. It basically was what I call a heavy reno, like no sheetrock taken off, but every other damn thing, kitchen, bathrooms, bed, everything. It was just a shit show. And I would have still bought it, even with the roof and the AC and all that stuff, because it was worth it, right? For me, as in a good area, as a target house I wanted to buy, even with all the problems. But then when they did the inspection, it's a 2-story house, which I normally don't buy, but it was in a good area with plenty of parking and good area for me is a B minus. I don't want B plus. I don't even want B. I want like B minus or C plus. When I say good, it was good enough for me in a nice market that was appreciating market. But when they did the inspection, the house was falling into the earth. The foundation was crumbling from underneath itself. And I was like, damn, dude, I can't, I don't want to mess with. If it was a single story, I have a foundation guy, probably could have dealt with it. But because it's a 2-story, and this is my personal thing, I know Jim and others, Ryan, you guys are contractors, so you probably know about this, but I've seen where there's 2 stories, all that weight, and you have that foundation, you get a litany of other problems that happen in the house, And so I don't want to buy into that. So I just dropped the contract.
Yeah, they'd have to reduce that price 150, 200 grand minimum.
Yeah, not touching it, not on my radar. I'm out, So, but did I answer the question or was that like off the rails?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good introduction because it's going to take some time, and I don't have time to navigate it right now.
Right. Did I stop the share already or did I?
No, it's still on there.
Still on there. Okay. Well,
So where it says today and then yesterday, so does it duplicate homes?
I haven't seen that because I dumped these out into Excel for now, just because I want to look at them and click on the links and whatnot. Occasionally you'll do this, and what it'll do is it won't actually give you the houses. It'll tell you how to get them. So depending on how you word that's why I use this. I don't know if this is right or not. That's why I use find. I use the keyword find because if I say, give me this, give me that, or search for whatever reason, it gives me the path to it, which is, search Zillow, search Redfin. I was like, no, I don't want that. I want you to actually find it and present it to me, so you'll see. So it's going to be buggy, you're going to have to play with it to figure out what prompts you want to give it. So, but I've got it now where it's incredibly useful. Matter of fact, I use it for comps. I say, hey, given this address, what are the comparables in this market? And boom, actually, let's do that. Let's see what this is probably gonna go long. Maybe I shouldn't do this, but anyway, you can use it for comps and anything in the real estate space. I think it's extremely valuable and it speeds it up. So that's just me. And I'm still learning, so I don't know what I'm talking about, to be honest with you, but I'm learning as I go.
Well, that's what we all do.
Yeah. All right.
This is like the days of, when the internet first started and you would have a leg up when you knew how to use the internet before everybody else did to look up things and find things.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there, Mitesh. And I know that the prompts and ChatGPT is wonderful, but the next step to that is agents, right? AI agents. So I'm trying to get a good base on using the interface and blah, blah, blah. And I joined a couple Skool communities with AI and I'm learning about agents. I originally was going to use Replit, which is a pretty cool agent builder. But since then, I've learned from some people out of Australia that are just crushing it in this space. There's something called Relevance AI. And I took a look at it the other day and it is above everything else. So what this means is, to sum it all up, is you can take a little time to build an agent to go out and do all this stuff for you. So you don't have to put the prompts in there. And what I intend to do is build an agent for just the sourcing of the data. Now I know I'm paying for the VA to do all that separately, but I want to build an agent to go off and use what I'm doing here, but obviously don't plug in the hard-coded Arizona, make it modular and like you're a programmer, Mitesh, or you're in the software space or IT or something, but basically make it templatized enough so people can use it just for the deal searching. And then that agent can then talk to another agent that I plan on building and then tie them all together. So I want to have it all automated to where it'll go out, look for the deals in the market I give it, then take it over to the analyzing phase, analyze it. Does it work? Cool. Yes. Okay. Go over here to the offer phase, have it send out offers, which, believe it or not, people are doing already. Send out the offers, and then I would get involved at the point where there's any kind of response, right? That's kind of the idea in my head.
Or the only part you're missing is linking it to your bank account.
Yeah, probably not going to do that anytime soon, but
Are there companies that are setting up agents for people?
yeah, there
I'm
are.
not a computer person.
Yeah, they are. There's a ton of them out there. Matter of fact, that's where the drive is coming from in some of these school communities. Is the school communities are there, but let's say you don't want to take the time to do that. They're there. They will suck you into a free meeting, right, to come consult to help you with your AI agent. And next thing you know, they're trying to sell you all this crap, but that's fine, you know.
So
So,
I
so
actually
I would,
have the idea of how to build something like that. It's just time. That's very time consuming.
Yeah, and that's what I don't have is time.
Right. Well, that
Me
or the
neither.
patience.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's
I
what.
agree. Yeah.
Well, so don't worry about it, guys. My plan here, and that's what this is what I tell the guys that are trying to sell me stuff. As soon as I say I intend to give it away for free, they're out. Right? They immediately out because that's what I'm doing. I want to build this, and I don't know if it's going to work. It could suck. I don't know. Maybe we'll spawn off another little section of the ORAT for people like Robert. Maybe I can collaborate on this, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, and then give it away to the ORAT community and let it take on its life of its own and just go from there, you know?
Well,
Yeah, sounds
ask for a
nice.
donation to help do it because it's your time.
Nah,
Mm,
I don't.
If you need help, I'll help you where I can, but I can't do too much.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely interested in it. I just don't know enough.
Well, good. You
I
can
could
be my
actually, yeah,
beta tester. Go
I
ahead.
could, I could actually, given enough time, I could write something like this, but therein lies the problem. Given enough time, this is definitely more than a one person coding project. If
Well, that's the beauty of this, Robert. There's no coding involved, right? Basically, it's object-oriented program on steroids, right? You essentially,
or what you want ChatGPT to write it for you, you could do that.
yeah, I've done that. That surprised the hell out of me. I told it, hey, give me a Python code that does
Uh,
X, Y, Z, and it did it. And I didn't have to fix. I
uh,
could, but I didn't have to fix any of the things. Now it was relatively simple,
oh,
but
when I do that, I'm always having to fix Chat GPT code. Like Chat GPT will write code, and I'll see like a very obvious error. Like the thing with coding in Chat GPT is you have to be very, very, very specific. Like you basically have to know exactly how you want to write it for it to do it. You can't be opaque at any point with
right.
I
Chat
would consider
GPT.
it programming.
Yeah, it's programming to an extent, but not like I'm not sitting down at a command line putting in code, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm essentially like, you know, the game builders out there of the world where you take, oh, this object and put it in here and this object in here and it can talk to each other. And by the way, that object's parameters are this, its features are this, it's green, it's purple, whatever, you know, that kind of thing.
But believe me, I've told ChatGPT to use like certain APIs, and it just
So
starts coming up with API calls that don't exist, and I'm like,
that
"What are you smoking, ChatGPT?"
that's why I said it's, you know, I gave it a very simple high level to see if it would do it. Now, when you get off into the
Yeah.
more details, sure, that's where these AI agents, I would encourage you to take a look at Relevance AI. It blew me away because I thought Replit was good. And this space is going so fast. I mean, we as a society, I don't think we're ready for this, to be honest. Like the AI space is
I'm ready.
it's freaking it's parabolic right now. Like, because just a month ago, Replit was the leader, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these guys in New Zealand have Relevance AI, and it's freaking stomped all over. There was two. There was Bolt and Replit, were these agent builders. They're already obsolete. I'm like, damn. And who knows? Maybe Relevance AI will be obsolete because somebody else will build on top of that. We'll see. It's a brave new world we're living in, man.
Another reason to exit your job as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that my job is actually costing me money, but in my view, it's good for the insurance and the stability of it. So once I
Well,
can get that done and I hit my goal, then I can step off
well,
the landing board.
luckily, as I just alluded to, ChatGPT is right now very bad at doing my job. When
Yeah,
it,
for now.
what,
5 years
what,
from
what
now, though.
for, well, no, honestly, it's scary because all someone has to do is actually train a decent model on my job, and it could actually do pretty well. But no one has ever bothered to make a model very specific to the product I work on. So, hence, I was saying why ChatGPT would give me random API calls that don't exist. I'm like, come on,
Right. But
I know the API. I
right.
know what call I want. I just want the particular query options because you know
But
I work internally. I don't work on the API, so I don't know every single query and
right.
filter option there
Right.
is out there. So I was trying to get ChatGPT to help me,
Yeah, but
and the
Robert,
moment.
you have to step up a layer, right? ChatGPT is one engine. There's multiple engines. Grok is good for some. So now take your agent. Here's your agent.
Yeah.
It can call any engine it wants, a ChatGPT, a Grok, or Baud, or whatever the hell, right? Gemini. It can do all of that, whatever suits the purpose for that. You could use ChatGPT for one, Grok for another, whatever. So that agent sits, it's extracted from that, right? It does that piece. So it's a more nuanced thing, I guess, but there's multiple ways you can get to that end goal, whatever your end goal is.
Right, right. No, I agree. 5 years from now, oh boy, it's going to be very interesting where we're at.
2 years
I
from now,
think.
I think, man, it's yeah, five definitely multiple changes, but just in the next 2 years, hell, by the end of this year, it's going to be a different landscape in that world too. So kind of got off the rails on the AI thing there, but
Well, honestly, the AI is going to be a huge part of real estate coming up. It's
I
going to be
agree.
huge.
It already is on the
Uh,
back end. I mean, you can't tell me that Hemlane or Zillow or any of those guys aren't using some form or fashion of AI. It makes too much sense to do it.
Well, AI is going to take over everything. It's going to be part of the world now.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
how often do you do your YouTube channel?
You know, I I try to not as often as I'd like or consistent as I'd like. My role, I'm a IT manager for the network for 18A for Intel, which is the flagship of the company. If we don't get that thing out, Intel's done. And so that's not my statement. That is the senior principal engineer at Intel. He came out and said, look, if we don't get this off the ground, we're screwed. So we're on track. Everything's great. But it's stressful as hell because all these little bumps in the road, I'm directly involved. So my time, I don't have time, man. It's my life sucks. Like I'm on call 24/7. Anything goes wrong, it's my ass kind of thing. And then at the meantime, oh yeah, I'm trying to, spend time with the family. That's why the water park yesterday was so cool because I did it, but also I'm spending time trying to do the real estate thing. And this house I just got under contract, although I'm super happy, I know it's going to be rough. Now I have a job where I can work from anywhere, so I'll be in Arizona dealing with it. But I'm also, I've been there, done that. But at least you're talking about perspective a while ago, where some of the Airbnb operators switched to co-living, or I did, and it was
Right,
easier for them. It's all perspective. So for me, the perspective is I'm only doing one house instead of two at the same time. So it's not as bad, you know,
right.
but it's still going to suck, right? Because I wish there are companies out there that will do what I need done, but they suck at it. They're not as good at it. And I thought about doing this because I do this with my contractors. And Jim, you might appreciate this. I have a couple contractors. They're good enough, right? They come in on time, on budget, and the details they suck at it. Like I'm talking trim and stuff like that. So I go ahead and know that going in. I don't bother fighting with them and arguing with them about this and that and just piss them off. So they get me to 80-90% of the way. And then I come back through with my handyman and he fixes all that crap. And it's a win-win. It's overall, it's fine because he comes in on time, on budget. I mean, not trying to knock on your profession there, Jim, but some contractors, they're hard to find those good ones out
Yes.
there. And if I can find kind of to what Matesh's point was like, hey, at least they're not fraudulent. They're inefficient, but they're fraudulent. So I guess I'm kind of a hypocrite, Matesh, because in the contract space, I'm kind of there with you. Not as bad. Like they get it 80-90% of the way there, but that last say 10-20% is sure, it is what it is.
Well,
So
those people that are dealing on our type of properties for rentals, they're going to have a certain goal. They're not going to make as much money. I don't deal with rentals. I deal with remodels. So I have to be at that upper level. So you're not going to put that kind of money into a flip or rehab. It's just you're not going to do that. Not the
like
same
Frank.
quality or anything else. Now, I'm going to put a lot of that quality into my stuff because I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to put solid wood base in because if the dog does go in there and pee on it, I don't want to have to deal with that base molding where I can just clean it and paint it. Whereas if you put a MDF base, it's going to swell up.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, so anything I do is going to have it's going to cost a little bit more on the front end, but it's going to save me over 20 years. Because even the cleaners, if they wet mop the entire place, because I'll have all LVP flooring, if that moisture gets underneath there and it just swells everything up. That's why I want to go with major remodels, because then I know I'm not going to deal with property for 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this in here.
Gotcha. Oh, you keep notes for the whole thing and then send that to Michael?
I sent it to Zuber, and what I do is I put him in bold, so he's not going to read all the non-bold stuff.
Gotcha.
And that way he can just look at it, go through the bolds, and every now and again he'll bring it up on his channel, like, oh, Sunday we did this, or Wednesday Frank talked about this, if he feels like it. So I just give it to him. If he wants to use it, great. If not, no big deal.
Hey, put something in there in bold that says, "I'm taking bribes for belt suggestions."
Awesome.
Mark's already doing that.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, that was cool, man. Like getting to meet everybody in Vegas. Man, that was so cool. It was almost like we never had that before where you meet people and you're talking online and all this stuff, and you meet them in person, and you don't skip a beat, and it's like friends almost,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird to me. I liked it.
Yeah. No, I've been to industry events for 20 years or so, and I like them because it gives you just a rejuvenation for the year.
Yeah. Well, that's why I like the Skool community, because you kind of keep some of that momentum going in a way.
Yeah.
I know that Jack and some others are talking about doing some sort of mid-year, like a 6 month in between the do ORAT to meet up.
Right.
And then I think Mark had mentioned kind of jokingly, but my wife was all about it, about having something in Hawaii.
Well, I know that California, all the people that we met were going out to dinner and stuff. All the California people were trying to do one like April or May time. It's
okay.
somewhere in the Bay Area. It's kind of
That's what me and Chris Culp were actually talking about, doing a Northeast thing too for like people in the Northeast. So I think people are trying to get into like region specific areas, because I think what this came up because Dion and all the like has his like thing with people in the Washington area. So like we're like trying to get, like we said, like once a year, also trying to get somewhere in the Northeast for everyone to collaborate for like a weekend or something. We're all what this really is in secret is we're trying to get Matt to invite us over to actually show us his projects.
Nice. You'll have to film that and let the rest of us see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those basically roundtables. They're roundtable events, meetup type things, and you get a bunch of people together just talking about stuff because everybody has different ideas, and it just even that one idea might spur on to a different idea. So it's great to hear all this type of stuff. I love this community. Is awesome. It really is.
So I'm always looking for new office move-ins so I can sell IT services. So I was thinking maybe GPT could help me out with that.
I could tell you that I use ChatGPT to change my descriptions on all my properties and titles, and I can't quantifiably say that it made a difference, but I'm full. Like all my properties are full now. That's in conjunction with the supply drying up, so it's probably more the supply, but I don't think it hurt. You know what I mean? Because when I read it, it was, I hate to say this, but fluffy, right? And it was kind of like, oh, blah, 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 blah. You read it and I was like, wow, that was pretty good. So I used it, right? I stuck it in there. And so who knows? People that mainly the pictures is what's going to matter more, but it can't hurt, right?
It seems like the co-living has a lot to do with MTR, STR. They're kind of very comparable.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, same realm, I'd say.
Right.
Yeah. Well, cool guys. I know that this has been pretty good, but in a little bit I got to go pick up my daughter.
Yeah,
So,
I got to finish this estimate. I got
uh,
5 estimates to get done this weekend.
yeah, this has been a good one though, man. We've been all over the gamut with this deal. I like it.
Yeah, this one I do like that. I'm on a lot of the groups, and I love how they're all different. I love that. So
Yeah.
I'm a sponge. I'll take any information I can get.
I got to be honest with you. I think Frank's Wednesday one is way better than this one. Like, I don't know what he knows and the way he, lets things flow and the people there and the timeline and all that. Like, a lot of people Sunday, they got family and church and all that.
Yeah,
So it's kind of a awkward time. But Zuber wanted something to be there and knowing full well that it wouldn't be as popular, by the way. Zuber's a smart guy. He's a
right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
really, really
Yeah.
smart guy. And he's like, hey, Jared. And I'm like, sure, man, I'll do it, whatever. So
Yeah, I was joking with Matt last night. He did all those interviews inside the room, and then he goes on vacation and posts them all.
yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know. Is that room? I know we got to wrap up. Can people just use that room, or
That's a question for him, not me.
because there was all kinds of people in there? Did Brian
Yeah.
Adamson did? I don't know. Maybe you have to be a VIP to use that room. I don't know.
Well, I think Zuber schedules it to where he has this stuff because like he's on a month cruise, right?
Oh, I meant the room that at the ORAD event, like
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But
So
I mean,
all of these things that are coming out on YouTube right now are from that tiny
right.
room.
But can you and I, as regular Joes, go to that event and use that room?
I doubt it.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think he's got it planned out and scheduled for his own stuff and key people that are doing things.
Yeah.
I think he's got planned out for the end. That can't be cheap.
Well, Matt said that he used it like it was his own room. I don't know if it was scheduled because Matt just said he went in there and started using it left and right. So
Yeah, well, what happened was since Dion was sick, Dion was scheduled to be in there for 2 hours. Well, Matt took that over.
gotcha.
So he had to fill in those spaces with those people. Zuber has it all scheduled
Oh, okay.
from morning to afternoon. What's going on and who's going in there.
That's cool. Yeah.
I'm sure people put in requests, Matt, Mike, and all those other people, they put in requests into that
Yeah.
to get some time in there, I'm sure.
Yeah, Robert, you mentioned Chris Culp. I got to meet him. That guy's smart as hell too, man. I really like talking to that guy and learning.
Oh yeah.
He's a
No,
sharp
we.
cookie
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah, because we know each other because we're like the people who keep taking the maths boot camp over and over and over and over again. Each of us are at 4 times. Yeah, he's the one who invented the whole submetering thing and how he's going in and submetering all of his units so that he can separate water and stuff, electricity. Basically, I have a 4 unit apartment building. Here's how I submeter like one boiler system so that I'm only maintaining one system and I'm still getting the tenants their own utilities. Yeah, he's a very smart guy. He's a very smart guy.
You know what I use for that? It's called Emporium. It's because it's expensive to put in meters and all that stuff, right? But this is a $200 product. You tap it onto the 2 main lines into the house, and then you can monitor up to 16 circuits. And that now, granted, this is for rent by room, but you could do the same thing with like you could tap into an entire 2 unit or whatever. I don't know, whatever unit count you have, and it will tell you and report out on a monthly basis or more. It's basically wireless reporting on the power, right? But then you have some
Yeah.
point of failure if it goes down. But point is, you can do something besides spending $5,000 on a submeter. You can spend 200 and monitor 16 circuits and base your costs off that. Just side note.
Yeah, he got it down to a cheaper thing with the way he does it, but electricity wasn't the big contention point. It was water is the biggest contention point because
Got it.
because here in the Northeast, you're you're on the municipality's water line and they don't sub-meter per unit. They There's only one water main in the house and they're not going to put in a second. So that's like the thing that always needs to be like sub-metered if you want to do it. That was his big thing. I'm interested also in gas because or oil because it would be nice like just having like a commercial boiler for like the entire unit and not having like four separate residential boilers because those boilers are what like a boiler is like $3,000 a piece because the ones nowadays are basically just glorified tankless hot water heaters that are like kicked up to the next level so they can actually provide heat. So luckily they're no longer those big gigantic things. So luckily they're not too expensive now. But yeah, you can buy one commercial boiler and then you're just maintaining that one system. And
Yeah,
that's
that's a trade-off though. Then you got a single point of failure for 4 units, then you got to kind of weigh the pros and
Yeah.
cons. That thing goes down the middle of winter. You got four families to worry about instead of one.
that's also why I do what Matt talks about in put a 20 amp outlet in each circuit in each bedroom just so you can put a space heater in.
Yeah.
Also for also because window AC because houses up here don't have AC because you're only using AC like what 4 months 3 to 4 months of the year.
So trying to
Now you don't
figure
have
out.
air conditioning in your area at all, right, Robert?
Yeah, no, we don't. Up here, up here. It's all heat. It's heating's the big thing. I mean, your air conditioner probably comes on around Memorial Day weekend, and then you're usually done with it like mid to late September. So yeah,
Like, so you
it's
do have air conditioning though, typically.
no, you don't.
Oh, you don't. Okay.
You
Yeah.
do not have it. Your tenants buy window ACs.
Gotcha. Yeah, because where
Yeah.
I'm at, we have air conditioning from May through October, and
No, no,
Jared has
ours
all
is
year
more.
round.
Yeah, ours is more like late May, early June through like mid to late September.
But not typically daily.
Um, daily for those months, yeah,
Okay.
it could be. I mean, typically, on average, it gets up in the summertime around like I'd say like a pretty average temperature would be like high 70s, low 80s around here. There's probably at most 10 days in the entire year where it's above 90 at most. It's usually more like 5 to 7 maybe. And usually if there is going to be a 100 plus degree day, it's only going to be one day out of the year, if any.
Gotcha.
I mean, geez, not up here in New Hampshire, but go even farther north to coastal Maine. An average day is mid 70s, and at night it gets down to like what 58 degrees. So we we don't even own air conditioners up there. You want cool? It's like there's a sea breeze, and then you want it cool at night. It's 58 degrees at night. Open a window.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and try to wrap this up. It's been a good one though, man.
Yep.
All right. Well, you guys
Okay.
enjoy the rest of your weekend and have fun.
Thanks all. I appreciate it.
See you
Yep.
guys.
Bye.